And we're back. Oh, got my half-life showing. How's everybody? Hey, we got Jeremy Henneberry, David Zerm, Iron Man, Metal Bill Dank, and Traveler, is that a 5? 5E? No, it's 5 Dimension. And Frederick 8250, all in the house. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Still waiting on Elder. We talked about some very tough things on this pre-recorded, and I think it made him really hit his heart hard. So he's trying to see if he's going to be able to make it through. But regardless, pressing through. All right, there we go. But we are here, and I see Noah Cloud just chimed in. The hood is understood as it should be. I don't know if it's good or good. I don't know what good is, but I represent that. I feel that in my heart. And YouTube bot 9569. Welcome, everybody. I do have some interesting topics to talk about that is correlated with something that we were saying. I think you guys will enjoy this week's episode. If you like singing songs, if you like the First Amendment, if you like freedom, I think you guys will enjoy some of this week's episode. It posits a basic fundamental thing that we all, I think, as Americans, and if not Americans, I think as humans, appreciate.
You can be Chinese, too, and still appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you want it, regardless. I think it's like a human thing we desire.
Especially if you're Chinese.
Oh, yeah, or, at least Mongolian or something. Whatever it is. I think you want it. But
you want it.
Will you have it?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother question. But you guys tune in this week. I think you guys will enjoy this week's pre-recorded. Yes, it is an extra large serving of Freedom Fries. I agree with that. I might actually call it that. Shout out to Noah Cloud. I might call it Freedom Fries.
Yeah, because if you call it Freedom Fighters, you might get sued. I think it's a copywritten title.
On the context of all of this, I don't know if my video, one thing, or somehow TikTok's doing something. Our videos that we usually show, we're having all kinds of errors and problems and feedback and loops. I was going to play this video, and I don't know if I can or not, because I don't know if it's going to be permissible because TikTok, but the base fundamental question is, it comes down to rights, but specifically parent rights. And I think for a lot of you guys, it might hit home, and maybe not, but you can entertain the thought. Do you think there is a such thing as parental rights? What do you think, colleague?
Well, it depends on what you mean.
Just the idea that parents have a right over their children. Parental rights. Do parents have rights? And do those rights allow them to be parents? And so ultimately you break that down. There's rights and then there's parents. What does it mean to be a parent? And then whatever you describe parent as, does that entity have rights?
Well, I think parents have rights over their kids because they take care of them. And the parents that don't take care of their kids, they lose their rights to have their kids. So the government takes the kids from them and tries, it's a broken system. But the idea is that the kids would go to somebody who would take care of them. So if you take care of, like if you have a car, if you're paying the bills for the car, you're taking care of your car, then it's your car. By law anyway, of course. Of course, the bank owns everything. Does the bank own your kids? That's another topic.
Question.
But yeah, I think that's the only reason you own your kids. Just because you're a sperm donor, that doesn't really make you the owner of a child, I don't think.
Well, one of the questions they were positing, because this is somebody who was very against parental rights, and they were positing the idea of you don't have a right as a parent to just barge in a locked door. You have to give those kids autonomy as a human being.
I don't have to do that. If they're in my house, unless they're paying rent, then they have rights over their bedroom. But most kids aren't paying rent. I'm going to do that with my kids. When they're old enough, they're going to be paying rent as soon as they hit 18, of course. Because that way they can move out, go pay rent somewhere else, or they can pay rent under my roof. But honestly, and I don't know why other adults don't do that. I've tried to get other adults. I've talked with other adults who are in really unfortunate situations. People living in their basements. Their children who are 20-something years old still living with them. And they're trying to get their kid out. But they don't want to kick their kid out to the streets. So I'm like, well, I just offer them, just charge them rent. You don't have to charge them expensive. Just charge them like $100 rent. And, if they don't do that, then you revoke privileges. You revoke TV, you revoke games, all that. And then every so often months you can raise the rent because that's real life too. You're just training them, and you're getting paid, and you're teaching them how to. Well, if they don't like it, again, they can go somewhere else and pay rent somewhere else. So it does a lot of good to do that. But for some reason, parents absolutely refuse.
So the question, and I understand what you're saying. The question is does the parents have the right to invade the autonomy of the child?
Absolutely.
Where does that right come from?
Because it's your house that you're paying for. The kid's not paying for nothing, so they don't own nothing.
So they don't have a right to, what about individual freedoms?
Like what?
Like they have a desire for individual expression.
Well, it depends. If they're not going to get kicked out of my house or my neighborhood,
let's say
then
they're just going to get a bunch of piercings, a bunch of tattoos, individual expression.
Yeah, this is where the line probably gets blurry. But I would say, you can do whatever you want to your body, but we're going to have a lot of conversations first. I'm just going to let you know the problems, what you're about to do. If you're underage, if you're old enough to get tattoos without my consent, then you can go do whatever you want. But
right.
if you need my consent, then we're going to have a long conversation. And if you don't want to have the conversation, we're not doing it. But if you want to have the conversation, I'm going to tell you what the problems with doing this choice, making that choice. So, yeah.
But that's the question. Let's say they just do it anyway. And, like teenagers do. They just go hang out with the buddies. Buddies might have a tattoo gun, and they just get tattoos, get piercings, whatever. It's not sanctioned. They're not going to no stores. They don't have no consent. They're just doing it.
There's no reason to get mad at that point. It's like, well, I guess you're going to find out the hard way.
Right. The question is does parents have rights to try to restrict their children from autonomous expression? Because a lot of parents believe that. Like you were saying, they're in my house, they're in my life, they're my children. I have a right to restrict whatever I want because they're my children.
As long as they're not doing anything illegal, I don't care, because I don't want that coming back on me. Right. So if they're going out and getting drunk with their friends, and they're underage, then yeah, if I find out about it, there's gonna be consequences when they get home. Of course, I'm gonna have to revoke more privileges and all that. Because I can get in trouble by the police, if my kids are doing stupid stuff.
Right, it's just basic expression, like
a tattoo's not illegal.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. Just basic expression, tattoos,
chop
piercing.
their arm off if they want it.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to try to tell them not to, but if they do it behind my back, then it's up to them.
Right.
They may be one of those people who cement their hands to those to the street.
But that could be illegal, right? That's now you're dealing with public property.
Politics.
Throwing paint on paintings and
like,
stuff.
I told you, Jimmy, I don't want to get into politics, but you forced me because now you have to cut off your hands.
That's their choice, of course. I mean, that's their individual autonomy that's now going to be solidified to the concrete. But it was just interesting because you see where this road goes, right? If you're an advocate for the abolishment of parental rights, what you're really trying to fight for is absolute autonomy for the individual. And that ultimately leads to the justification of, like a good example. So a 13, 14-year-old wants to have a sex change. Does the parent have a right to say no to that kid, their kid? Because ultimately you see that once you give more autonomy, eventually you're bypassing the ability to interject your ideas into the child's life. But then this child is still, because the argument of the other side is, if I did that though, is the state going to pay for them? Because they're going to say, so you're going to give them all this autonomy, but I'm still responsible for me to freely pay for their housing, for their schooling, for whatever it needs until they're 18. I'm responsible, but you're going to take away my ability to raise them. You want to give them all this free autonomy, but I don't have any voice in that, but yet you're going to make me pay for everything.
Yeah, no, that's too far, because that's a lot more detrimental than a tattoo or a piercing. Chopping, that's even worse than chopping a hand off or chopping legs off. You're actually doing something that is, they say, irreversible. And not only that, I mean, obviously chopping a hand or a leg off is irreversible, but this is going to ruin your entire life. Like, you can still do things as in a wheelchair, but once you're transgender, you're not. There's so many problems that come with that, health problems and social problems. You base your whole life around being the victim, because people look at you weird. So, and it's not because you were born that way. It was because it's like people are looking at me weird after I pulled all my teeth out and I smile with this creepy smile at them. It's like, well, yeah, you did that to yourself. So, but then you can make it your whole identity. I'm the toothless man.
Right. I get that.
I'm the toothless Bengal.
The question is, does the parents have a right? Is there parental rights for the parent to control the child's autonomy, to stop that? Do they have rights? Because that is the child's own body. Because, again, you hear where this is leading to. Mm-hmm. So the question is does the parent now have a right over some other human's autonomy?
Well, yeah, as long as you're into my roof, you're still under my care. It's like a handicapped person. Before I became, a long time ago, before I worked for the CIA.
Well, one question before you do that. So your justification is, as long as you're under my roof, I have rights over your life.
Well, that, and you're not mentally capable of making those decisions.
I see.
So when I was a CNA, and I took care of older people with dementia. I was their caretaker legally and by many different contracts. I was their caretaker. They were under my responsibility. I had to feed them. I had to make choices on what went in their mouth and what did not. When they went to the bathroom, and I did the best I could. They wanted many things, but I could not give it to them.
Right.
We were forced to restrict things for their own good.
Right.
They didn't understand because they had dementia or Alzheimer's or sundowning. They were incapacitated. Their mental state was not,
or even physically
enough.
incapacitated. They just couldn't get up
Right.
and take a shower. So you have to help them.
But if they were, you could be physically disabled in a wheelchair, and maybe you want a pizza, and you're a fully capable human being, or maybe you want a drink, you want to smoke weed or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you have nothing wrong with your mental state. But for people that have dementia, or a 10-year-old, very similar, they don't know what reality is. So the 10-year-old's reality is what. Well, they're still learning that. It's not even what I tell them, because they're going to disobey what I can tell them gravity exists, but until they jump off the roof and break a leg, they're not going to really know. But that's just reality. They're going to have to learn gravity's a thing. Even if social media says gravity's not a thing, they're going to learn the hard way and find out it's a real thing. So, yeah, unfortunately, 10-year-olds don't know better when, not to talk to strangers. They don't know what foods, I just had a conversation with my 10-year-old the other day. She was saying, why can't we have candy every day? And I was like, well, because this is what it does to you. And I told her this stuff. You get diabetes, you lose teeth, you get all these health problems. And I was like, now, if you still want to go forward with that, then that's cool. But first, you need to feel what it's like to have a cavity before that. Because that's another thing. They've never had that pain. So they don't know what that even feels like. They're like, oh, sure, okay, yeah, I'll get cavities, yeah. Yeah, I'll get holes in my stomach. I'll have to poop in a colostomy bag. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, bring it on. Because they don't know what that is. They've never lived that life before. So they've never had real pain yet. So for me, putting that kind of decision in their lap still isn't fair. They're still just 10 years old. They don't know. They don't have a clue what they're even talking about. So they don't have a clue what I'm talking about. Just like the dementia patient. They don't have a clue what anybody's talking about. So as long as they're under my care and they're mentally not stable enough, like they say 26 is the age when your brain finally stops developing. But we could even go as young as 18. When you're 18, you can make those kinds of decisions. But even America knows. There's even ages when you can't drink under the age of 21. You can smoke at 18, but you can't drink until 21. So America knows you're not old enough to make that decision yet.
Yeah, because it maybe leads to the next question, which would be, and we understand. I think, a lot of people probably agree with what you're saying is there's probably there needs to be some room for mental fortitude. It has to be some room for understanding a verbose or a veracity or an amount of different choices, different experiences, different things before you try to make something permanent, because maybe like you're saying, maybe they just don't know. So how would they know they would want this forever? Whatever it is, it could be anything. I think a lot of people agree with that. But then it leads to the next thing. So at what point should there ever be a point that a human outside of mental capacity, like a handicapped person or dementia or something like that, restricts somebody's ability of their autonomy? Because it happens all the time, and I can give some examples, in a little bit. But the question is okay, so maybe parents have a right to control another human being. Maybe not, but you make an argument for there is. Can it go farther? Let's say they're 20. Let's say they're 25. Is there any justification for controlling those humans' autonomy?
Well, I'd say, yeah, if you, an 18 and above, let's say you're 18 now, if you are willingly subjecting your body to under my roof, because you can go live anywhere else, but you are willingly subjecting your life under my roof, then you're paying rent. Now, if you don't want to pay rent, then I own you even more now because you're going to do whatever I say.
So you're saying once you become at an age where you have mental understanding, your control over somebody is based upon your ability to take care of them.
Well, the fact that they're subjecting their free will and their choices under your authority because they're living under your roof now, your domain. The same thing. If I went and stayed at a friend's house, I'm under his rules. I'm not going to live my house rules under my friend's house. That's his house, his rules. I'm not going to start telling his kids how to behave. I'm not going to start reorganizing his cabinets and everything else. Like, that's his house, his rules.
Right.
It's the same thing. So if a grown man, 18-year-old man or woman is under my roof, they're living by my rules.
All right, so let's take that. And then what I was thinking is, so we amplify it to like you and me. Does the government have the ability to control our autonomy since we're under their rules, their watch, their care?
Technically, yeah, we're on their land.
So do you think that they have the right to control our autonomy?
Technically, yeah, they can. Yeah.
You think that's is it something that we should embrace?
You don't have to. Maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Because I was thinking
it's
about
just the rules of life.
The parent dynamic is kind of like the government and the human dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
They're your parent,
mm-hmm.
and in essence, so they control our autonomy. And so because I was thinking when I was listening to that person, trying to be open-minded, the person who was fighting against parent rights, I was like, okay, so let me give you the grace of saying, maybe you're right. Maybe there's no parent rights. But you're not going to disagree with governmental rights. Yet, governmental rights are archetypally parental rights. So if you're going to be okay with governmental rights, why would you be against parental rights? Nobody's going to disagree with governmental rights. You're not going to fight a war by yourself. You're not going to not call the police. You're not going to not do those things. You want the parental supervision, parental protection. So you want those parental oversights, but you want to strip them from the parents. And so that's where it came to my idea. It's like, okay, fine, you disagree with parental rights. Well, then you should disagree with governmental supervisions. And you could be an anarchist or whatever. But overarchingly, most people who are fighting for the negation of parental rights, they're not going to say, let's get rid of all this governmental protections and supervisions that they all appreciate and love. So to me, that's where the contradiction happens. It's like, that's fine, but it just seems like you're trying to put out this bias so you can put out a larger agenda, but yet when it comes after you, you're not going to accept the same token. You're going to say, no, not me. I was like, I don't get that. You are a child to the government.
You already know the answer. Everybody just wants to be a king, and that's really what it's all about. They're upset that they're not king. And as long as you recognize that there can only be one governmental king, there can only be one queen, or even if there's a council or whatever, maybe there's no king, but there's just a council, you're not in that council, and you just have to be content with that. Because if you're in that council, I mean, someone else isn't. And then they're going to fight for that. It's like, this is this big... Somebody has to not be the king, and somebody has to be the king. If you are the king, then all those other people are not the king. And that should be okay. You want them to be satisfied with that. But yet, when you're not the king, you're not satisfied. And that's really what it boils down to. Everybody wants to be in control.
I just think it's strange when an older person is, because the person who was saying this was an older gentleman. He's probably like 35 or so. And I'm sitting there thinking, you've lived a little bit. You're not some, young teenager. I get why teenagers would say that. They don't want to be controlled. Nobody wants to be controlled, like you're saying. But you're 35. You've experienced the world a little bit. You've understand power dynamics. And yet you still want to believe this idea, yet you're still living in a world where you are utilizing governmental parental provisions. And so, and I don't want to think the bad thing. The bad thing is if I ever hear anybody wanting children to have ultimate freedom, you know what ultimate freedom really means is ultimate responsibility. And every time I hear an adult wanting to give a child ultimate responsibility,
And shrugging it off.
No. Worse.
Rubbing it off?
It triggers this thought of, oh, you want to have freedom with this kid. Because if this child has no supervision and is not responsible at all by their parent, that means you want this child to have the full fluid responsibility of saying, I want to be with this adult. And it's like, why are you fighting so hard for this child? The child has a parent. The parent is within this dominion of education, rules, culture, whatever. You're an adult. Why are you fighting so hard for an adolescent to have this ultimate freedom of responsibility outside of you wanting access to children without any consequence? Because they're fully responsible, right? They fully are responsible for their autonomy. They can make full decisions. They can do whatever. And it's like, that's what you want, isn't it? Because if there are rights and protections, you can't have that. So to me, it's just weird when I hear older adults trying to fight for ultimate. I understand some ideas of boundaries and rules, but ultimate freedom for children. It's like, why are you fighting so hard for that? And of course, there's exceptions. There's bad parents beating their children, all that other stuff. But the exceptions aren't the rules. If you're out here fighting for ultimate freedom of children, well, are you going to be the one that protects them?
You think that's what the government's doing with this whole thing with, giving children the right to have the surgery or not? They're just taking one increment of steps to giving. Ultimately,
that takes away the idea of protective. See, rights are also protective. Who's shielding? If you take away the ability to shield, then what you're saying is that kid can make their choice on whatever they want. There's no shielding. Well, if a 13-year-old kid can make their choice of being with a 40-year-old man, nobody can shield that because they have ultimate responsible rights. And to me, that should be an alert. There should be some shielding. But if you're fighting to remove all shielding, that means you want free autonomy to a child.
I wonder why they don't start with the alcohol and smoking. Start lowering the ages for that. Say alcohol is 15. Smoking is, let's just say 15. You can drink and smoke at 15. And then, a few more years go by, they lower it to 12.
Because they found something that seems to work better.
Yeah, a sexual thing. It's
like, something that
they want to lower the age of sexual conduct.
They want to make something abstractive. Like, who can fight against an identity? You can identify as anything. You can't fight against that. You can fight against, I'm not giving you a cigarette. I'm not giving you some beer. But you can't fight against, I'm not giving you the ability to think you're a unicorn. Can't fight against that.
And it's directed towards children because they have the biggest imaginations.
Right,
so
right. They've been thinking about unicorns.
But they also connect it specifically to sex. Like, you can get a sex change as a minor, and that's what's interesting. It's
and
like you didn't want
them to have free, no responsibility, full autonomy. For what?
Yeah, where they can go run from their parents in Washington, and if the police catch them, they're not required to bring them back home.
And I'm prefacing this with the idea is I don't care. As much as people think whatever, I don't care. If you want to be transgender or whatever and you identify that, that's great. That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. It's just that I think it's strange when you're fighting for children in that magnitude. Because, children can believe whatever they want, and maybe they identify with that, and that's fine. But they still need a shield of protection until they can be responsible. If they can't be responsible, you're going to leave. It's almost like leaving a stray dog out there, and there's a bunch of bears. It's like there's predatory functions, and there's no one to shield these predatory functions. If they are capable, then fine, so be it. You make your choices because you're capable of having avenues to protect yourself from predatory functions. But if not, then why do you want to strip away the very thing that can protect them from these predatory functions? And to me, that's very strange that you want to use the idea of everybody should have free autonomy as a justification to remove protections. Because that's all a parental right is, in essence, is a protection. You're protecting them from being homeless. You're protecting them from being hungry. You're protecting them from being hurt. A parental right is just a protective shield. So once you strip those parental rights, you're removing all their protections. And now they're left, somebody else needs to protect me. And if you know it's predatory, those are the ones that are going to give you these illusions of protection. Why would you want to do that to a child? So that's why I thought it was strange when these conversations, especially grown men, I expect teenagers to say that all day, and that's cool. I don't understand why grown men are fighting for stripping parental rights. That's very strange to me.
Maybe those grown men are themselves living in their mom's basement playing Xbox all day, every day.
Well, they should be happy. I mean, that means you have parents that allow you to sit there and eat cheese puffs all day.
Yeah, but the parents still have rights over them. The parents could kick them out legally.
Just as property owners, that's all. But that's universal even as adult. That's just property owner.
Yeah, but if you're trying to strip all parental rights,
I guess that's like a squatter, like squatter rights.
Yeah, but you can't kick me out because I'm not a squatter because I am actually your blood. Right. And if I can prove it by law, then you have to let me live with you forever.
I guess that's something I didn't think about. Maybe it's something like that. But to me, it just seemed more malicious. I just don't understand because those are fundamental to, see a puppy, you see a baby, you see something that's fundamental. They're not capable of having protection from predatory functions. It's just essential. It's universal. Don't know why you would want to strip that from a minor. Now, if you're a 35-year-old living in your parents and that's what you're fighting for, all right, I get you. I see what you're doing. You want to live there and never pay rent. Fine. That doesn't mean you have to argue that a 13-year-old needs to have that kind of freedoms because there's not going to be any protective shields. And I think that's what made it more strange. You're fighting for adolescence. And that's weird. But anyways, I'm sure the chats probably have a lot saying about that. It's probably a very touchy thing.
And Elder's not here, so I'll be filling in.
You're going to have to take the scoo.
Iron Man says, "What up, dorks?"
What up, dork?
And Jeremy Henneberry says, "Oh, Billy." Frederick says, "Yee." And then Frederick says, "Pee-poo, pee-poo." And that
Collie over here pee-pooing.
I don't know what's gotten into me. Traveler says, "How late will they be today?" It's only 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock on the dot.
Iron Man says, "Vegas allowed marijuana and other drug users to possess firearms. The Supreme Court just ruled on it." Cool.
We could talk about that. Shit, homeless people have rights.
Yeah. Not homeless people smoking marijuana and other drugs. So they're over there.
You're just talking about drug usage.
You can't have a bunch of people out there smoking drugs using guns. Specifically firearms.
I would say I would want that, right? That's a desire.
So after they just get done smoking something.
I would desire for them to be sober-minded if you're possessing deadly weapons.
Yeah, if their enemies are prowling around.
No, I'm just saying in general. It's like your car. Your car is a deadly weapon. I don't want you to drive if you're having an altered mind either.
My car smokes.
Yeah, but I'm saying you as the driver, I would prefer.
Yeah, I don't smoke. I wish my car didn't smoke, but
that's all I can say is I have a preference of that, but I don't. What are you going to do once you start isolating that? That's a whole nother ball game because who's going to be the arbiter? Who's going around watching? It's like, oh yeah, I smell that. Oh yeah, he's smoking drugs. Take that gun away.
Yeah, he's drinking alcohol.
It's like they're going to be like the gun police.
Yeah. That guy over there is under the influence.
Because, when you go to buy a gun and you have to register or whatever, you're probably not high at that moment. Maybe you are, but you're probably not. But then you go off and now you got the gun. Who's going to be monitoring if you're smoking or drinking or whatever? Nobody knows. And who's going to be this arbiter? All I'm saying is I hope people are responsible with their deadly weapons, just like their car. But there's nothing you can really do about that unless you want to take away Second Amendment rights. Right?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, there's.
I mean, I'm not gonna be the gun police. Well, hey, sir, have you been smoking?
But can you buy or rent a gun is gonna be the question.
Yeah, but they're gonna say you've never done drugs your entire life.
No, what they'll do is you'll probably have to
get a P test.
Yeah, I guess I don't know because people that own guns right now don't have to go to regular UAs or.
It's not unless you're a felon, right? That's about it.
Right, yeah. Well, you can't even own one.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But like if you...
But unless you're a felon, you basically anybody can get a gun.
Yeah, I guess that is, I guess now that I think about it.
It's like, who's going to be this arbiter? It's like, that ain't real. All I'm saying is I hope you are responsible with your deadly weapons, but I don't think you can control that.
Because other heavier substances leave your system pretty quick. Like meth leaves it in like 1 day. Marijuana is 30 days, but that's...
Well, I mean, even alcohol. I don't want you to be drunk walking around with a gun.
It was still that's undetectable after a day or two.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but even that, and forget hard drugs. I mean, I think alcohol is pretty hard too, especially with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I don't know, like you're saying, I don't know how they would restrict that anyway. I feel like that's just a normal thing. I don't even know what are they ruling on. Maybe Iron Man's filling in the blanks for us. He says, okay, hold on. Says, yeah, out of states are now holding the parents accountable for their child's actions. And he says it's a federal law. There's federal law where if you have a marijuana card, you can never buy a firearm. Okay,
that
makes sense.
But then they should allocate that to alcohol too, and other substances.
Yeah, I feel like the alcohol one's a lot worse than marijuana, but
yeah, because that's universally accessible. I mean, you could just, you can go steal you can go steal beer or whatever you want. As a teenager, you always find that guy who goes buy you beer or alcohol anyway. I mean, who cares?
Well,
what am I talking about? If you're a teenager, you can just find somebody to buy you some whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to aim if you're intoxicated by one and not the other.
Forget the aim. I mean, you're going to make a mistake. Just like you're driving, you're going to make a mistake. Your mental coherency is suppressed dramatically. It's like, you want a gun, it's fine. Second Amendment, cool. I don't want you to be in a mental state that you're going to make accidents and have a higher chance of making accidents, because then you might shoot a kid, you might shoot something, you might not shoot the perpetrator. And it's like, I don't want that.
Yeah, I got in trouble one night because...
But I don't know if I want to say if you have a marijuana card, you should be restricted, because you're not going to do that for alcohol.
I got pulled over one night by a peace officer, and he told me, well, at least I thought he told me to pee in a straight line. So I tried to, and I wasn't. Apparently I was peeing in two lines. So I tried to figure that one out. So I got in trouble on 2 accounts.
I don't know about split shooter.
Yeah, it was like...
split spitter.
Yeah, it's like split pee.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so of course, he got upset. I didn't get any on his shoes or anything. I could have hit both shoes if I wanted to, but I didn't.
But you're being polite.
Yeah, I was.
The courtesy is always good.
Yeah, it didn't matter, though. He threw me with his curb.
Yeah, I don't know. If you believe in the Second Amendment, I think, you can't really put that kind of restriction out there. You have to hope for responsibility. The only way you can fix that, after somebody has a gun, because, it's a slippery slope again. It's like, oh, today it's marijuana card, right? Tomorrow it's going to be certain prescription drugs. The next day it's going to be you've got bipolar, or maybe you got manic depression, and someday it's going to be you voted for this political party. Once you open the door for something arbitrary like that, you're setting precedent. There's no end. You have to hope people are being responsible. Maybe you require gun training. Maybe you can do that. It's like you get a gun, you get fined, but within 30 days you need to get gun training. Maybe you can do that, but you can't control what people do after they got the gun. Nobody's going to be sitting around monitoring, and if you start making these weird exceptions, you're just leading the precedent to make wild exceptions. Like, oh, if you voted Democrat or you voted Republican, you can have a gun. So then that's even more crazy.
Well, the chats are getting backed up like sewage. He said, not Vegas, America. So you're saying America allowed. So America just ruled on it, I guess. He says, always late, Blackness Standard Time.
Blackness Standard Time.
I don't know what that means.
It's the
but,
apocalypse.
Yeah. Indian time.
That's a new one.
Jeremy Henneberry says, in the words of Korn, are you ready?
We're ready.
Traveler says, I just found out that Elder is an Aleister Crowley style moonchild. How is that possible?
What does that mean?
I couldn't tell you, but apparently Elder could if he was here.
Moonchild?
Yeah. Maybe he's one of them moon boys.
I have to wait for him to, if he's going to show up. He's still out of commission at this moment.
Yeah, you guys will have to ask him that next week. So write it down. Make sure you know what you're going to ask next week for Elder when he comes back. He may come back on this episode. I doubt it. He's
his
unfortunately
camera's still
taken
live,
ill.
but he's not available.
Yeah, we've lost connection with ground control. Let's see. Jeremy Henneberry says, Moonchild? What are you talking about? And then Iron Man says, a moonchild is like the King Tut, the Dalai Lama, or Hitler.
Talking about like a golden child?
Oh, wait a minute. Are we talking about the...
Spokesperson?
Hold on. Something's coming back. Moonchild because he believes we went to the moon. And the connection between that and Aleister Crowley is because he would... his Satan is, so he'd do things under the full moon.
Talking about like Masons?
Yeah, there's this conspiracy theory that Satanists have this fascination with the moon, which is why they're saying we went to the moon and all this stuff. NASA is basically a big satanic corporation, which is shows their fascination with the moon. Aleister Crowley is involved in all that connected. I can't remember. I saw something about this a while back. And because Elder believes that we went to the moon, probably the only one that believes we went to the moon. He's even trying to convince the astronauts that we went to the moon. I'm just messing. If you're watching this, Elder, you'll have to explain yourself as a moon child. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I guess who wrote that?
The moon child thing? Traveler.
Yeah, Traveler. Maybe you can expand on that. Is colleague right?
Iron Man says Pope John Paul II was a moon child. He was born and buried on full solar eclipse.
Oh, that's even more deeper on the moon.
Yeah, so I guess, there's a big satanic network out there for eclipses and full moons and Aleister Crowley and all that. Here's one for you too. Here's a fun fact, a freebie for you, Iron Man, and all you moon children out there. The satellite, or the telescope, the NASA telescope. Is it NASA or is it the Vatican telescope? It's either the Vatican telescope, they have one, or it's NASA's telescope. They have these massive telescopes, like multi-million-dollar telescopes.
I think they both have one.
Observatories. Yeah. I think it's the Latin one. It's actually called Lucifer. So put that in your back pocket and smoke it. David Zerm says, Morpheus and fighting Neo. Look at his neurokinetics. They are way abnormal.
What? What? Neokinetics? New kinetics?
Hold on, I just lost my... Wow, there's a lot. I just lost my spot. It's in quotes, so it must be a quote from a movie or a song or something.
But it's neokinetics?
Morpheus and fighting Neo. Look at his neurokinetics. They are way abnormal. I don't know what that means. Some kind of riddle.
Yeah.
Jeremy Henneberry says time is running out.
For what? Dinner?
Don't worry, we'll have you guys back before supper. No Cloud says was good in the hood. Yeah, you already read that. I forgot about that. Freedom Fries. Jeremy says, I want in. Send the live link.
Okay. We'll run through these chats first.
I don't know if we're going to make it through all these. Tevin Whitgenfield. Wow, that sounds like some kind of
Wittgenstein.
Puritan or something. He says, hey, I have a stamp. I have stamp call fatigue. I recently applied for food stamps because I don't have a job, and now I can't find a job because I'm being interrupted by spam calls. The text history, an interrupting, applying. That was it.
Yeah, I think he's playing on last week's fatigue stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what he's saying is he's applying for food stamps, but then he doesn't.
Oh, yeah, he has stamp call fatigue. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. You want to get that looked at? No cloud.
Colleague needs a plug. Needs to call the plug.
And we're just excited to be here.
Yes, we are.
See, that was a scene off The Matrix.
Was it?
Yeah, one of the twin guys like, we're getting aggravated, and the other twin said, "Yes, we are."
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's those guys with that white hair. They had like white dreadlocks, and they could disappear and move in and out of vehicles and stuff.
Yeah,
they were really good at fighting people with seatbelts too.
Yeah, that's probably the second one,
I think it's the second or third.
Yeah, it's not the first one.
Yeah, but Trinity though had more training in fighting people with seatbelts. So, guess who came out on top of the car?
Truth.
Trinity. Noah Cloud says, I think that depends on the culture. Parents have mostly been removed from our culture. The family unit has mostly been destroyed.
That's a good point.
It's true. Traveler says, they have both rights and the responsibilities with regard to their minor children. There is a movement to destroy the nuclear family in favor of state control that should be avoided at all costs. Again, agreed. No Cloud says charging rent but putting it into a family savings account for the future. Now, there's an idea. But if mommy and daddy are a little back behind rent that month, might just saying. Not that I'll ever be in that position, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, if the Federal Reserve keeps dropping rates, well, your savings going to be nothing either.
Yeah, my kids may have to feed me, and I'm only 21.
But apparently they're not going to be dropping rates. At least it doesn't seem like it, even with their new Fed chair. But that's neither here nor there.
My kids, they're going to be like 18. They're going to be feeding me as a 20-year-old. That would be interesting. They're going to be paying my rent.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. If they get rights in its totality, they also have dependent rights. What happens if they need to take care of their parents? I guess it might kick into SSI. You might get Social Security because you're disabled.
Well, they could just smother us with pillows.
Well, it depends what you're giving them. If you have nothing to give them, then they just kill them for nothing.
Yeah, if we're money pits, why not?
But if you're not, what'd you gain?
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I wasn't paying rent because we were down on our luck that week or that month, and my kids were still living with us and they're paying rent, and now they're paying all the rent responsibilities, and they're paying for our medical support now, hospice care, and all this other stuff, whatever it is. Well, it's time to go, Joe. Don't act like you ain't know.
I don't know. They might hope you get disability. And then they'll whack you. And then they'll just keep taking your disability check.
Now that's a good idea. I might actually tell them about that.
Well, I'm sure it's been done. I'm
sure. But ignorance is blessed. Except in this situation.
I can't imagine how many people have been collecting disability checks, like out in the boonies, where you have like people living in the country. Nobody knows if you died or not.
All the sovereign citizens out there.
Yeah, but the kids been collecting those disability checks.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, I'm not going to withhold it from the children. I'm going to let them know, so that way they could put me out too if they need to. They take me out of the trash. I don't even care what they do with my body. I think it's so stupid. It's like I'm not going to need it. I'm gone. whether I'm somewhere else or just in the dirt.
Well,
Doesn't
they
make
definitely
any
don't
difference.
want to remember you if you're still in your disability check.
Let me go bury me out in the dump.
Yeah, that might even be too much.
They'll feed me to the pigs too. That's cool.
If you're out in the country, yeah, they probably will give you to the boards.
And you just take me out to the country, take me out to the ball game, and let me be swallowed.
Who strikes you out?
Yeah. Yeah. But me and Coach.
Yeah.
One can dream, can't he? This is why everybody needs kids, too, so they can take care of the dirty work.
I thought we had the politicians for that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they're going to be like, oh, you got to be put in a coffin, or you got to be cremated. It's like, no. You don't have to do any of that.
Well, they should not want that.
Same.
That'd save more money they could put in their pocket.
What do you mean?
I mean, if they convinced everybody not to do that, then they could just sell all this, cemetery land and keep it for themselves.
Yeah, I know, but for some reason they got to keep up these traditions. And I'm like, why? Now, I get it. Nobody wants to see grandma do that, but there should be some kind of rule where, after, I don't know, 100 years, maybe after 3 generations, nobody remembers great Harold. Nobody remembers
people do
Harold.
have the right to cremate.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's so many graves in the world right now. I'm gonna go on a limb and say billions of graves in the world right now, probably more, because there's more people that have died than have lived. So there's more graves out there than we can count, and who knows every single name of all those tombstones? Like who now? Yeah, people did for generations, but eventually those names just get forgotten. It's like, who cares? So let's get rid of those and put fresh people in, or do something with it. Like, why are we taking more land? Eventually, this whole earth is going to be covered in tombstones. They even made a movie about it called Tombstone. That's actually not what that movie's about, but
they even made a pizza.
Yeah, it's true. No, we don't got no cake for that.
That's good. Celebration over here.
Noah Cloud says, charging rent. Oh, wait, I already read that. Traveler says, imagine a world where every child gets whatever they want. Yeah, the world would, unfortunately, be the worst hell that a child could live through.
Well, at some point, I think it'd be cool if all the parents could say, all right, hands off, and all the children get whatever they want. And so what it would turn out to be is like children gladiators. And
yeah, they would end up killing themselves.
Right, and then that's when they would realize themselves, you don't want absolute autonomy with no responsibility, because this would look like, the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
But more violent because you don't have any life experience,
yeah.
So you don't really understand the ramifications. And it's going to be too late.
There wouldn't be no mercy, no compassion. Imagine a 10-year-old boy given a gun. There is no mercy or compassion.
Well, they don't understand. So it's just, I'm playing a video game.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be like they're playing a video game, but in real life.
And then you just exit, because when you die, you don't see anything, and that's it.
And that's not counting all the ignorant and arrogant children, because they like you said, they just don't have no life experience. A couple of Christmases ago, there was a dad who went to go buy Christmas presents, and he left his 14-year-old, there was a 11-year-old, 5-year-old, and then a newborn all in the house. He came back, and they all burned to death in a house fire. So he came back with the presents for Christmas. And my first thought was, I hope he kept the receipts, because that's a lot of money for 4 kids. It was either 4 or 5 kids. I can't remember. It was like 3 or 4 Christmases ago. Anyway, but yeah, it's like, Merry Christmas to you, and have a nice day. That's it. Ever since I've been trying to figure out how a 14-year-old dies in a house fire. Like, you don't know how to turn a doorknob? Are you that stupid?
Well,
sure, you caught the place on fire. You could have at least escaped. At least get the youngest baby out.
I guess it depends on how embedded you are. Like, if you had headphones, you're sitting there playing your game, you're talking, and
So it's literally melting down your cheek, and you don't think anything.
No, at some point, then it starts to get hot. You notice, you smell it, but it could be already burning up the hallway. Maybe you're upstairs. You're too afraid to jump out of the 2-story window. I mean, I guess there's situations it could be like that, possibly. But it would have to be something like that. Now, I think
there's an 11-year-old, I think, and possibly a 12-year-old as well. They could have done something.
That's possible.
My son, he's 6 years old, and he can turn doorknobs.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
It would have to just be some isolated thing like that. Like maybe a basement. There's some in the basement, some upstairs. The middle floor is getting burnt, and now they can't get out from the basement. Maybe they're all in the basement. Yeah, if you're in the basement and there's a house fire, you're not getting out.
I reckon.
Yeah, that would be the worst place. Like, at least you could jump out a window. You might break your leg. You ain't getting out of the basement.
Maybe the dad went to go buy some Christmas presents. Maybe there was like an axe and a fire extinguisher and stuff like that. But he was just too late.
Well, basements,
someone on the chat?
I don't think so.
That I heard a voice.
Basements, no, nobody's here.
Maybe it was God or something.
They that's where the gaming stuff is usually the man cave or the video games or a projector or something. Who knows? Maybe that's possible, I guess. Yeah, because it is kind of strange to have how many kids?
I think it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's.
It was at least 4. It was either 4 or 5.
If they're all downstairs watching a movie in the basement or something, maybe.
Yeah, I doubt that, but we can go with that.
I mean, yeah, you have to think of something because if they all really did die, it has to be some kind of isolated situation. Because even children have a innate self-preservation. I don't want to.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to hurt. I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, animals do. That's ants do.
They have to be stuck somehow.
It's funny. Like, imagine the first time human beings hear God's voice, and it's actually just a sigh. It's breathing. It's not even a voice. Just because that's what I thought I heard earlier. It's just someone sighing or breathing.
I mean, earlier we heard like the government flying around.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be the big G, government.
It's always the big G. It just depends who's your big G.
Yeah. Yeah. That's scary to think about. Well, yeah, kids are dumb and and kids die because they're dumb. They run in front of traffic. They shoot each other. They stab each other. They kill each other all the time. They kill themselves all the time. They drown. They eat too many sweets and they get cavities. They die of diabetes because they have too much sugar. If the world was run by children, I think, they're not going to be able to fix each other. They have no knowledge of no medical knowledge, no knowledge of how to fix a car. Now, maybe you can say, well, my kids know. Fine. You have one boy one girl who knows how to fix a car. The whole world is just going to eat itself alive.
Well, even intellect. You could be a smart kid. That doesn't mean you have life experience.
Yeah, and you don't know medical stuff.
Just life experience in itself. It's like you don't understand reciprocal consequence yet. You could be a very intelligent kid, but life experience is tacit knowledge. You have to experience life to understand reciprocality of life. You can't just read it in a book.
Yeah. And again, who's running the internet? Who's keeping all this stuff so there's not going to be any internet, no cars, you don't know how to run gas pumps. Even if you know how to put gas in your car, you don't know how to keep the gas going, like how to drive the gas truck to fill up the gas pumps. You don't know how to do any of that. So there's nothing you can do. The kids that do get behind a wheel, they're going to kill the rest of the kids that don't know how to get behind a wheel. It'd be a place I wouldn't want. They wouldn't even want. They want that because, again, like Ho said, lack of life experience. Of course, every kid wants to run the world. Even if we just had one child president and they were in charge of the whole world would go up in flames.
And it's interesting because it is kind of like a Western thing. A lot of older countries, even like tribes, they introduce life experience to their children very young. And maybe that's the reason. Like they take them out hunting, they go out there shooting, or you see some of these Chinese or Asian cultures out there showing them how to fight, and it's like a lot of old archaic countries. Maybe they just understand that we need to get life experience in these kids early.
They also have counselors too. When there's a young king, so at least throughout history, they have
of course,
a group of counselors who counsel them.
Yeah, they had the wise sages.
Yeah,
right.
So the kid can say, "Oh yeah, I want to kill all the counselors," but it's never going to happen,
right?
Because counselors are going to say, well, we probably shouldn't do those. So, yeah, the kid's technically king or queen, but they're not actually running it. The counselors are in charge at that point, and they're just using the kid as a puppet.
You know, maybe that's the thing. You know, we shelter kids a lot more now than ever. But, you know, maybe that points out that that's probably the downfall. Maybe that's why a lot of you have this problem maybe in Western cultures more, where you have 5 kids dying in a house fire. That just sounds really, really strange.
Yeah, I remember reading that around Christmas time.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, that's really sad on the parent, you know, coming home to that. But it's like, that's really also, my mind's like, how did all my children not figure out how to get out of the house?
And see, I have a hard time. I did feel bad at the beginning.
I mean, unless he locked him in the basement.
Yeah, there could be that too, and then he's going to get what's coming to him.
That is so weird.
There's going to be evidence for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it. I was like, you know, man, that sucks. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I can't leave my kids home alone then, you know, for Christmas, obviously. And that's probably the reason they were putting it out at that time, just for parents to be aware. But then I started thinking, I was like, what parent is that stupid? Like, if you know your kids are that stupid, why would you leave them home alone like that? If you know they're locked in a basement in some dungeon-looking thing in New York, why would you leave them home alone? Like, I know not to do that. And secondly, it's like, again, for the kids, you can't even feel bad for the kids. It's like, yeah, the only kid I actually felt bad for was the two. There's like an infant, like a newborn, and then there was a 3-year-old, I think, or something like that. So, yeah, those ones I felt bad for. They were the only innocent ones in that party. The 3 older kids and the adult, you guys all got what coming to you. That you're just stupid at that point.
That is
cleaning out the gene pool at that point.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But that's the only thing I can think of is, you know, you start sheltering your children that much, they get afraid of everything. And when you get too afraid, you panic. When you panic, you freeze. If you're more experienced, you just do something because you've been used to you're forced to do something. So that, I guess maybe that could be the counteractions. You shelter too much. You have mental knowledge, but you have no tacit or experimental knowledge. So you freeze when you have problems, and maybe that's what happens. That is very strange that you don't have this like innate idea of, I need to get out of here.
Yeah, I've almost started many house fires as a kid. Many. But I could have turned a doorknob. And I knew I had an exit plan. Like, I was young and dumb, and
I don't even think you need one. It's just like, I'm just going to get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much, I think I'm just going to try to get out of here.
Yeah. Now, maybe the kids thought, if we don't die in this fire, our dad's going to come home and
at minimum, it's like, you might not even save your brothers and sisters. You're just thinking, I need to get out of here.
Maybe they all knew this is better than facing the wrath of our dad when he comes home.
I don't know. See, that
doesn't match.
It's weird.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's the only thing I can think of is that children are freezing in situations when they're panicking.
Yeah, so imagine it, you know, if they were running the world.
Yeah.
And then they're dealt with real problems, and then they freeze, and now half the world just died.
But then there's going to be
Nukes
the other sides
now.
of the world where they introduce tacit functions very early. Those kids are going to be fine.
Unfortunately, they're going to get wiped out by the other kids who just sent nukes over there because they didn't like what color shoes they wore.
It's like, nukes.
Yeah, you already know it's over. There's no way that could happen. We have a guy that acts childlike right now. He has a childlike faith. The Orange Man.
Yeah.
He's just a big grown baby, and that's all he is. Like, and people want that. It's like, imagine a child. Like, he's barely a like, he's debatable whether he's anyway.
To the chat.
Jeremy Henneberry says, "Traveler, that's called liberalism. You can't choose your bedtime, but you can choose your gender. SMH. Speak my heart. Or show my hand. I don't know which one that is."
That's a new one. Show my hand. You play a lot of poker?
Jeremy might.
Show my hoof.
And in this corner, Traveler says, someone is injecting ideas into the child. If not the parent, then who knows what is best for the child?
That's a tough one. You live in a culture, you kind of accept that. Even in microcosm culture, right? If you have a social group, Toilet Time TV. I mean, you have microcosm cultures that kind of solidify your belief. That's why you're still here. If you hated everything we said, you'd probably never come back. So you have like micro cultures, and then you have a bigger culture like your nation, your state, your area you live in, your subdivision, your peoples. Those kind of solidify things you teach your children. If you live in an area, they're probably going to hang out with kids in that area, and they're all probably going to have kind of the same kind of ideas of acceptance. If you didn't like it, you'd probably try to move out of that area. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of difficult. It's not just a parent. There's a collective parenthood, too. And you as the parent choose that to an extent. Now, if you're really poor, maybe you don't. But, you know, a lot of us try to live in an area we think will give our child the best opportunities, the best places. At least that's the goal, right? That's why you choose certain places. And you choose what kind of friends they want, what kind of places they go, who they hang out with. So I don't think it's just an isolated, I'm the parent, I'm the only one putting input. I think there's multiple layers of that. But the parent does choose that in some sense, a majorative sense.
The parent knows what's best for their own child because each child has specific needs, specific personalities. I think it's what Traveler is alluding to. Like, the best person that knows each child is their own parent because they live with them. So if your child has specific, personality traits or deficiencies, the parent of that child knows. Whereas if somebody would have to live a whole lifetime with that child just to figure those things out. So it's best to just keep it with the original parent who has already been living with their whole life with that child.
Right, and usually they microcosm the parenthood. Like, say you have an autistic child, you probably hang around parents that might have autistic children because there's a collectiveness of understanding of those behaviors. And now you have a microcosm parent. You have this community parent, as you have also the ultimate parent. And that's what I'm saying. It's like it's not just always you. There's also microcosm culture parents. And so I think that's important too. We have to respect that because we choose those things. You can't pretend. I mean, I would say there are probably the farm guys. They're probably raising their children out there, and it's just the husband and the wife, and that's it. Maybe those people are the true, like, you are the only parent. That means you have no social media, too, because now if you're watching other farm parents, then that's your collective microcosm parenthood. But if nothing, you're just you, you're probably the true, like, only parent person. You have no influence.
Yeah, I was recently talking to... there's a sad, unfortunate reality, too, with this concept. But it works in the majority of the time. But then you have those unfortunate... fringe moments where sovereign citizens or just farmers, they do bad things to their children, and there's nothing anybody can do because the children they're not ever seen by the public, so there's no accountability for the parent. The parent can do whatever they want. They make movies about this stuff because it is a reality, maybe not an often reality. I hope it's not. It could be even more often than we think. And somebody I was actually just talking to recently does audits of stuff, and they were actually telling me that this happens a lot as well. But there's also, because it's Pride Month, I feel like I should say it, there's also a lot of trans and gay couples who also adopt children, and they get caught abusing those children. And that happens all the time. There's actually a statistic on that now. Which is interesting in itself. And for some reason, it's always little boys. They adopt little boys. And it's always grown men, gay grown men, who are adopting little boys. So that's a whole nother thing. But that's, yeah.
Are the gay grown women adopting girls?
No, they just adopt any gender. Oh. But they abuse the children. If they're feminist, lesbians, they abuse the boys in different ways. Unfortunately, I've seen a few articles about that.
I'm not familiar with the data, so I was asking if you know.
Yeah, well, I can't say I know all the data. I've seen a lot of articles on this stuff. Yeah. People, there's a very common thing. Lesbians abuse boys by doing things to their genitals on purpose to cause the boy pain. The gay men that are adopting boys are doing sexual things. There's been several instances where trans couples have adopted children and beat them to death, sexually abused them and beat them to death. And this show is probably going to get discounted for all this stuff I'm saying, but especially on their holy holiday, but it's true, and they cover it up as much as they can, but that's an unfortunate reality. Those boys and girls are just adopted, so that's the only world they know. And what happens, it seems like, is the trans people try to indoctrinate their children. And when their children go against the indoctrination, and there's actually videos of this stuff too, they beat the child.
But
so
you would think, though, that's kind of like a universal construct, right? If you have a very dogmatic parent, like a cult, something like that, and that's a common thing, and the children go against their dogmatic belief, they usually get abused. It's probably a transcendent thing, like dogmatic parent, really strong beliefs, kids are rebelling, they probably get abused.
Yeah.
Regardless what they believe. It's just a overly dogmatic, very narcissistic parent.
Well, okay, we're not given all the details, I guess, in these reports, but we're told that the children specifically have mutilation to their genitals, boys and girls. So we know that these adult lesbian and adult male gay couples are doing things. I can imagine they're saying, you're going to be trans. And the little boy says, I don't want to be. I'm a boy. I like whatever, tanks or whatever. Like, no, you like dresses. And then the boy goes along with it a little bit. They think it's fun maybe. And then they say, I don't like this anymore. I want to wear green or, boy colors, whatever. That's not my favorite color. So then I imagine these trans couples or gay couples, they probably do things to the genitals of that boy. And in hopes to make him more like a girl, they might even do surgery things themselves. And actually, that unfortunately, that's part of the thing that you can read about in these articles too.
If you're a gay man, you want men parts. If you convince your boy to get surgery and remove the man parts, they'll never actually be able to experience that gay life.
There's gay the trans articles you can read about. You guys can look it up. It's some of this stuff's hard to read, but it's more not the gay. I'm talking about I'm conflating the gay, the trans, and the lesbian communities. But they're all abusing children. The trans people are specifically mutilating genitals of little kids. So they're adopting it, mutilating. Some of them are actually killing the kids. On top of they mutilate them, and they still refuse to surrender. So they kill the kids.
More sense if it's trans people.
And then they hide it. One trans couple, they found, I can't remember how many children dead in the basement or the attic or something. This couple was burying the bodies somewhere on their property, and they would just adopt another child.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, they would just adopt another child and another child.
Yeah, like 13 corpses.
Yeah, and these corpses were the genitals were mutilated. So, you know what they're doing. Anyway, and that's that stuff. They didn't have any choice. Now these kids didn't have any choice. I don't have a heart for a 14-year-old who died in a fire because you could have turned a doorknob. But for those instances that we're just talking about, that's tough because they didn't have any choice in the matter. These kids didn't know anything. They're literally just trying to live life, play with tanks and Tonka Joe, and they met with trans freaks. So,
the old existential philosopher Heidegger, he says, it's the Dasein. You're thrown in this world. You can't choose your parents. So it's a tough thing. No child chooses their parents. You're just thrown in this world, and it's like a poker game. You can't. There's nothing you can do to change the odds. You can't change those odds. Your parents are who they are. Your area that you're born in is where it's at, and there's absolutely zero things any human on this planet can do about it. Well,
it's stuff like this that makes us want to have more surveillance in homes,
right.
But that means everybody's homes have to have surveillance,
right? And then, with that comes also the super parent, because now they're going to be giving you their demands of how to raise your children, and they're going to watch if you're doing those demands,
right? Yeah. And they may say what the trans people are doing. You know what? That's okay now, because we're all Epstein. We already all know that we're all doing this Epstein stuff.
It's not going to be you. You're just going to be a monitoring human for the government's desires. You definitely won't be a parent at that point. You're just going to be like a nanny.
We'll be like lab rats in a big science experiment.
And the parents are just nannies.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's alternate surveillance, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sick world.
Yeah, so options.
I guess it depends on which moral code you subscribe to, but yeah, it's a sick world depending on some moral codes. Yeah. Anyway,
back to
get off my soapbox. I feel like I've been talking a lot this live.
Well, I've been asking a lot of questions.
Elder's not here either, so he can't tame the beast. Though he may try.
We'd probably have a lot of responses.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Traveler says someone I already read that. Oh, yeah, that's actually what made me go on that whole tantrum. Noah Cloud says, kids need freedom, but they need to understand their place in society. We live in a strange everyone for themselves culture. Look at the YNs. That New York's? What? No. Norks. They have all the freedom and no place in society. YNs. Winans?
You drink wine?
Wines? No. It can't be. It can't be.
I think it's westernized, though. You know, when I was raised, I wasn't raised in America, and I don't think it's so special either. I think old America was probably this way. It's just any old culture. They're, my grandparents, even though they were as primitive as Asian can be, they encouraged my exploratory desires, but they gave me very strict, adherent rules and work ethics, even as a 3-4-year-old. But they encouraged my exploratory function. But there was no question. There was a hierarchy. There's rules. There's authority. And I didn't feel suppressed. I didn't feel like I was being suppressed or controlled or like, oh, no, I can't do anything. And I think I had a great childhood, even though this was very primitive Asian culture. I enjoyed my childhood.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. My kids, I'm going to get back to the chats. I know we're spending a lot of time on each one of these chats, but we have and I think I've said this before, but we have a money system with our kids. They do chores and they make money. It's just Monopoly money. We had to buy Monopoly money off Amazon. I know it's stupid, but jokes on them because we're going to come out on top.
That's great. Gonna buy Boardwalk.
Yeah, I just feel like I should start crying.
Let it out.
Anyway, so we pay them for the chores they do, and then if they disobey mommy or daddy, they lose money. If they hurt each other, they owe reparations to each other, and we decide how much is owed based on how much pain is inflicted on each party. It's pretty cool actually. They actually love this system. We don't buy their toys anymore. We've stopped buying their toys for 5 years now, probably more. They buy their own toys. They buy their own candy. If they want anything extra, if they don't want to eat our meal that we prepared, they can spend money to buy something else, but it's gonna be their money, and or they can just not eat. It's that simple for them. But they're using all their own money. If they want to watch TV, it's $5 for an hour. And that's actually where a lot of their money goes. So it saves us money too. It's like, well, because even though their money is fake, it's Monopoly money. They have to use our money to do things. So. But we're trying to get them to save and learn how to save. So right now they're getting all that impulsive lifestyle out of their system because they're kids. So they're gonna be kids. And we go to the thrift stores, they buy toys and they do whatever they want. But if they don't have any money, sometimes they're in the negatives. They can't buy nothing. So one kid will be able to buy toys and other things, TV, but the other kid can't. So the other kid has to sit there and watch while the other one's spending money. It's like, well, you should probably listen better to mommy and daddy. So it's a really nice working system. Honestly, I don't know why. Well, I do know why schools don't teach parents to do this. Why parents don't teach other parents to do this. Nobody taught me to do this. It's just an accumulation of ideas, listening to different people on YouTube, and I just put. And now I'm at this position. I'm like, well, it feels like this is easier than I don't have to. I haven't had to raise my hand in a long time. Like almost in school.
Talking about like the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Anyway, so it speaks for itself.
That's good.
Hand on the Quran.
Each of their own.
Anyway.
And to answer Iron Man, I came over to America when I was like 6, maybe 7. First thing I saw was McDonald's. Blew my mind. My dad went to the drive-thru. He paid with his card. We got food. Blew my mind. It's like, wow, over here, wherever we're at, you just give them some card and we get food. Like, that's never been real until I came to America. Blew my mind. It changed my worldview. As a kid, changed my worldview.
You're here in North Korea, though. It works a little differently.
Are you talking about Shanghai?
Shanghai? I'm talking about Bangkok.
That's good.
At least you can own a llama, though.
I'm not into llamas. They'd be spitting too much.
Let's see. Noah Cloud says parents have a responsibility to teach their kids. Amen. Iron Man says, yes, and have all the autonomy over women for thousands of years. A child is no different. And yes, and have had autonomy over women. That
Probably was
out of
something we
context.
said during that time frame.
Traveler says, Jeremy, if they applied that in less life-changing decisions, the child would feast on candy and energy drinks, stay up all night, not go to school, ... Yeah, that's true. Iron Man says, I had a V in my house when the street lights came on and I had my driver's license. My father is extremely strict, and I thank him for it because he told me all my friends were going to grow up to be feminism ruin this world once they started telling women they mattered. The economy went down and government control went to blank.
You're gonna have to paraphrase that for me. The only thing I remember he said, I had a V in my house. I was like, what's a V?
Maybe he's talking about a llama.
First thing I was thinking, was you talking about like a virgin?
I was thinking, the first thing that came to my mind is a V line.
Yeah.
Or they called it the Adrian belt
villager?
or whatever. Adron belt or something like that. The V line. The bunny trail.
Yeah, I don't know. But can you paraphrase that for me?
No, I can't.
Okay, well,
I think I know what he's saying.
Okay,
he's thankful that his father was extremely strict because he told him what his friends would be, and it cuts off there. I'm assuming his father was right. I'm sure he's clarifying in the comments right now.
I'm sure there's a lot of good in that too.
And then
if your parent has a lot of life experience, now if your parent hasn't, then that's probably not the best advice. But if your parents had a lot of life experience, I'm sure. I mean, nobody's perfect, but you take everything. I mean, especially from people who had a lot of life experience. That's good. That's the one thing about old people. They have had a lot of life experience, so it's good to hear their experiences, how they dealt with problems. They don't have all the answers, but that definitely adds to the pool of information. POOL, not PULL.
Yeah, that's good to know. And he says feminism ruined this world once they started telling women they mattered.
I
think he's joking.
That would need its own conversation. value theory.
I don't think he's joking. Unless Iron Man, unless you're gay. If you're gay, then that's another thing. But of course, if you like women, then you think women matter. I mean, yeah.
Feminism is something to talk about. I don't know about the intrinsic value of a woman, but
I think we could all agree women matter, obviously, as much as men. Men don't matter any more than women, and vice versa. Feminism may have ruined that.
Feminism is its own thing to talk about, but I would say the same thing as being overly masculine and trying to dominate your assertiveness. To me, that just shows that you are you're not very secure. You're not very confident. I don't have to assert my authority because of my actions. Authority is just naturally following along with me. I don't have to tell people, you will follow me. People follow because they see there's something beneficial. And through that, it creates a natural hierarchy of leadership. I don't have to force my authority on people. It just becomes beneficial. If it benefits you, you'll follow. If it doesn't, then you probably won't. If I have to tell you, you will follow me, maybe I shouldn't follow you.
Well, there are feminists out there who say men don't matter and, we need to get rid of all men. It's like, you wouldn't be born. And same thing for men who legitimately think women don't matter. It's like, again, you wouldn't be born. You wouldn't even have a voice in it. You just wouldn't be born if there was no mother. Your mother birthed you. Your father, for the women lesbian out there, your father birthed you. You can't have, now maybe here soon we'll be able to do that without men and women, but then you wouldn't need women either. You'll just be a robot. Then you won't have a mother or a father. We'll just produce you in the lab. And that's cool too. There's nothing wrong with it. If that's what you want, that's cool too, to each their own. Seeing your story, like what we talked about this episode, but yeah, anyway.
Well, I think a lot changed after the agricultural era. Agriculturally, yes, I believe men had to be superior because that's a lot of labor. And women had to bear children so you can have more people in your village.
You're talking about superior just like brute strength.
Right, and it was necessary.
It's not superior as in like value.
Because the women had to work with producing children, and a lot of them. And they had to nurture, while the men had to go out there, and there was no time to think. Your agricultural time frame, you're just working all day just to live. So, of course, they're superior in that sense, and it's been like that for thousands of years.
Yeah, if we're talking about motherhood, though, birthing children, the women were superior to men.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the aspect is they're the ones building the houses and all this stuff, and it's for thousands of years. Once we get out of the agricultural timeline, this is why you see in the first century, like with the Greco time period, it was very different. Women started having power. Women started getting wealth. And the reason why was they weren't sitting around. Men weren't just sitting around gathering wheat all day. They actually could start to think. People had the freedom to think. That means women had the freedom to think. And through that, they started shifting the paradigm. But again, I think there are, I don't want to say gender roles, but I do think there are things that women are
better at.
Yeah, this is what they are curated to do. They produce children, so naturally that's natural to them. Men are more stronger, so that's what's natural to them. And so this is just what they do. We could call that gender roles. I don't have a problem saying that, but I don't know who in our audience, anybody's offended. I want you to listen to the conversation. I don't mind calling it gender roles, but I think that's normal, but I don't think it's always, it had to be that way in the beginning. It doesn't have to be that way after we get out of the agricultural age. Now you could think. And by having freedom of thinking, you kind of equal the opportunity. That doesn't mean it's always like that. Clearly, men were still very dominant. But the opportunity for women to think, oh, it's there. And so that's fine. I want to see intelligent women.
They're out there too. I mean,
but does the intelligence lead to narcissistic feelings because they believe they've systemically been suppressed? Probably. They probably feel that way. And the more education they have, they're probably more tilted in their indoctrination that you're systemically oppressed. So you need to supersede men because all men are trash and they're trying to control you. I think that's very toxic too. So I think that needs to be mitigated by the contrasting aspect of you have opportunity, take it. Don't be in the woe is me position. GM has a woman CEO that's been a woman CEO for a long time, one of the most prolific car companies. So it's not like you can't.
Yeah, it's not about all this woe is me.
Seize your opportunity. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. But yeah, I think there needs to be a balance in that conversation too. Everybody's trying to force systemic anything.
I think it's starting to become really obvious. Even in that, there's a movie we just watched. What was it called? Women First or something like that. I think it's called Women First.
Oh, the guy hit his head and everything turned into a woman world.
Yeah. And in that movie, you see what feminists, their whole dream desire is to just be the top CEO. They just want that throne in that movie. But they don't want to do what it takes to get there. You know, they don't want to be in that movie. You'd think that they would show all the women bricklayers, roofers, you know, concrete mixers, asphalt layers, you know, car builders, mechanics, all this, but they're not. Even in this movie, they had a prime time. This would have been the perfect time to show women doing this, but they didn't even do that. All they showed women want is that power. They just want the power. That's it. And it was a big sermon. I enjoyed it. I was like, hey, man, you know, the whole time I was watching, I was like, you know, that's what we all want. That's true. Men and women both want the power. We both want the crown. We both want to be king and queen and all that.
And, you know, what's tough is that movie, it showed the top of the pyramid.
Yeah,
See, when we get down to the bottom of the pyramid, everything's more equal.
That's the thing. That's what was lacking. Men will work at the bottom of the pyramid. Women don't want to do that work. They want to just be at the top without climbing there. They just want to be at the top. And that's where I feel like that's cheating. Now, when I say women, I'm talking about the feminist women, not all women, of course.
Jeremy said he wants his foreskin back.
It's yours. Come get it.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, that's because they've been taught this idea of systemic oppression. And so there's like, well, if I allow this to happen again, they're going to put me like this again. Instead of seizing the opportunity.
Nobody's stopping them from job applications as a bricklayer.
Of course
the
not.
women just say, we don't want to do that. We don't want that job. Okay,
right.
What other job? You want to put some shingles on a roof? No. You want to put some studs in a house? No. You want to do plumbing? No. Well, what do you want? I want that CEO position. It's like, okay, so you just want the throne. That's all you. And not only that, once you get it, you don't want the responsibilities that come with it. Firing a bunch of people, meaning there's children going to starve. You don't want that authority.
Well, some women do, and they're good at it. And so
some.
Look at the SpaceX president. Right under Elon is that woman, and she's been that president for 10 years.
Yeah, it's not that women can't do it. They can. But the women that are complaining, those are the women who I'm talking to. They're the women's, come get your mans. They're the people that aren't willing to do anything. They just want the top. That's all they really want.
But I think that's my point. I think this is the problem with believing systemic things. It's not to deny that there has been oppression. Clearly there have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it even goes to the racial issue. Of course there's been systemic things. Of course there have been. But if you continue utilizing that as your reason of conversation today, you don't grasp your opportunity. You're looking for someone to give you opportunity because you're saying, I'm the victim and I deserve something. But that's never going to allow you to accomplish something because now you're just waiting for something to happen. I know in the Asian culture, we have the different idea. I mean, you can go back even American history. We've been systemically all kinds of stuff, concentration camps back in 1935, all kinds of media propaganda that Asian men are dumb and stupid and ugly and they over-sexualize Asian women and all that. But we don't care. You don't hear that much from this. We came here with the idea we're going to buy property, we're going to start businesses, and we're going to take care of our community. We're not going to complain too much. We're just going to do what we do. And we already know we're going to get profiled. We already know all this stuff. And so in the Asian community, you don't hear that. We bring over that culture of education. We're just going to work hard and get education and blah, blah, blah. And we're not going to worry about the white people or the black people. We're going to focus on our community. And that's what we're going to do. Because if we focused on the systemic thing, which is real, we wouldn't have accomplished anything. We're still waiting for somebody to give me something. And it's like, that's not going to happen. We come here, we're going to grab the opportunity, and we're going to dominate.
Yeah, and the women that think like that, they're successful.
Right.
They get on top exactly where they want to be. And it's like, yeah, they work there. They work their way up. That's good. That's what every woman should do. Right. Every man, because there's a lot of lazy men out there. They just want the throne, but they don't want to do the work either.
You're not going to get to the top by claiming about the systemic oppression.
Right.
You're going to get to the top by grinding. And you can grind whatever you want, but by grinding.
You'll be grinding at the mill.
Right, or at the hips, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think that's important too, because, yeah, there are a lot of things that are real about history, and I don't want to ignore them because that's not true either. But I don't think that should be your premise of motivation. premise of motivation should be, if you have opportunity, utilize it. And I don't care what race or what gender you are. Because the person I feel the sorriest for, and I'm saying sorry as in I'm empathetic, is the mentally handicapped. They actually don't have a choice in establishing anything. They are permanent. They don't even have the ability. And I was like,
they should be the ones that are complaining.
Those are the ones I feel the most empathetic for.
Yeah. When people are complaining, it's probably because they have it too good. That's a whole nother conversation. But
Mel Dent gave $2. Appreciate that. Oh no, thanks. It's a membership update. Broads are good for laundry. You know, my mom was pretty good at that. She was pretty good at laundry. She learned at a young age. You know, you go to the river and you use those boards. Yeah, she actually kept that.
Yeah. No, I feel like men and women are pretty good at that. And robots are good at it, too.
Well, if you have a washing machine, you should be. You should be pretty efficient.
Robots are already doing our laundry.
Yeah, they're folding it at least.
Oh, they're washing it. Like, washing machine is a robot.
That's true, yeah. The washing machine itself is an automated machine. That's true.
Washes our clothes, and then a dryer dries our clothes.
Yeah, that's true.
No, Cloud says, choose some aluminum foil, kids.
Yeah, it's like putting a 9-volt battery in your mouth.
Eat brick, kid. Jeremy Henry says, actually, you got to be 21 to smoke cigarettes now, but you can go to the strip club at 18.
Really?
That's cool.
I didn't know that. So they changed the law?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess they're going to bring the sexualizing ages down. Maybe they're going to keep bringing it down to 12. You can go to strip club.
You know what I always believe, and a lot of people other believe, is if you could go to war and kill somebody, you should be able to smoke and drink. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You're going to lay down your life, you should be able to smoke and drink.
But that's one of those things. Like, well, if you can choose to have a sex change, you should be able to smoke and drink.
Well, sure.
It's the same thing. Yeah, there's all these weird, like, unequal yokes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird to me. I don't know why there's this arbitrary thing. You're going to go send kids over to get their arm blown off, but you can't drink.
I lived in a place once, in a city once, where strip clubs were illegal, but they would have trans parades with fully nude men where all ages are welcome, and there would be kids that go there and look at grown men naked in these parades. But the same little city said no to strip clubs, and I was like, wow, that's oxymoronic. It's just dumbest thing. But yeah, it's one of those things. All you can do is ask questions like why, what about revenue? This could pull in a lot of money for you, but they just don't care about money. They care about politics and agendas, and it's really all I'm starting to realize. That's all big elite corporations and businesses and cities actually care about is agendas, not money. Money doesn't really run the world. Politics, not politics either. Agendas do. Politics and money, those are just vehicles for the agendas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iron Man says, my mom said they used to come collect all the tin foil and even the tinsel from their Christmas trees for the World War II effort.
Wow.
Traveler says, the government does not have the right to control our autonomy except by our permission. We should not embrace a parent dynamic with the government.
That's a tough one, because you want to utilize the shelter of the parent dynamic of the government, though. You know, everybody wants to be individual until somebody gets invaded. And you are praying and hoping somebody comes to your aid that's got a bigger gun than the one invading you. And that's kind of what a child feels, too. You know, they feel cool until they get beat up and bullied, and they're hoping their parent comes and saves them. So it's tough. I understand the sentiment, which is, you know, we don't want to give the government all this rights over our liberties. But at the same time, you want to appreciate their contribution of sheltering. Yeah,
my son one time was being bullied by a kid, she was actually a girl. She was like 4 times his size. And he told me about it. So I went up to the kid and I raised my foot and I went bam, and I kicked the curb really hard just to show her not to mess with him. Then the next day I found out she was still doing it, so I went back, and that time I actually did have to raise my hand that time. Nobody knew about it, but I raised my hand to the heavens. And I said, you know who's watching? And I told that girl, you know who's watching up there?
Santa Claus.
Aliens.
Oh, that's a scary one.
Yeah, and she got scared stiff. She almost couldn't walk after that. I don't know if she pooped herself or what, but she was scared
and
stiff.
If I was a kid and somebody told me that, that would be ground shaking.
Yeah, and they just raise their hand to heaven.
Yeah, it's like wow, this guy's gonna call the aliens.
Yeah, you're like Moses. You're like this. Like, behold, they're watching you. Yeah, she was scared straight.
I think that'd scare any kid.
Yeah, but then she did it again.
Oh,
found out. So, yeah. So I had to handle business.
Did you call the aliens?
Yeah, I called somebody.
What'd you call? Ghostbusters?
That's to be continued.
Excellent.
Well, Jeremy Henneberry says, I never call the cops. By the time cops get there, the damage has already been done. Them showing up at that point is just bringing more drama into the situation. I was raised to handle my own problem. That's a man right there.
I think there's magnitudes to that. I agree with that in some sense. I think there's magnitudes. And I think it's situational. Like, if you have a car accident, you definitely want a police report. Again, if you have insurance, right? Of course, if you don't, then you're probably just driving off. You definitely don't want the police involved. But if you have insurance, you probably want a police report. I think there's magnitudes to that. I can understand that sentiment in some sense, but I don't think it's exclusive. And I do definitely want a police report. I've been paying for insurance. I think I want to use it.
Well, that's where video cameras come in handy. I told that little girl, I have you on footage. And I even told her mom.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The little girl that was
the one you said about aliens?
Yeah. So I told her mom too. I yelled it across the neighborhood. I was like, I have your little girl on video. And I got a whole lot of footage of her. And that scared her mom. So her mom, I think, is going to think twice before she lets her kid out to play, because you never know what's actually going on. The kid disappears all day and then comes back. Why does the kid have a straight face? Nobody knows. Why?
seems really encryptic.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. People need to know where their kids are at all hours of the day.
Right.
Because if your kid's picking on somebody else's kid, then,
Well, this is why the one thing that, we hate about surveillance. But, one thing could happen. You have all these drones. One thing that's efficient, if I have a car accident, it takes forever for these police people to come out here anyway. But, you could have, instead of 911, you could have like 91111, and that calls a drone. And it's connected to your phone. And the drone comes out there and does all the report, does all that stuff. And it's automated. It's fast. I don't got to sit around for a decade waiting for the police. At least that maybe one. You're not getting rid of surveillance. That's a pipe dream. It'd be nice. It's a pipe dream.
We don't want to get rid of it, especially with police business. We want everything
I was thinking,
to be
like
recorded.
you're talking about, kids can make accusations for anything, saying this guy was doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. But if you have surveillance and CCTV cameras, but then again, you got flock cameras right now. They're saturating all the neighborhoods.
Good.
But yeah, there's pluses, there's pros and cons.
That's true. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Off top, though, I think all police should have video footage of all their, as long as they clocked in. Now, not on the toilet like, was it Ellison?
Yeah, Larry Ellison.
Yeah, not what Larry's talking about. I'm not talking about the cable guy. But police should be filmed all day, every day. I feel like as long as they're on the clock. As soon as they clock in, they're being filmed. Honestly, I almost wonder if the cars should always be filmed too, inside and out, 360. That way, even if you're off the clock, but you're driving a car, that the specific police car, it's always recording. So you're not doing anything stupid either with that.
You would think they would want something like that anyway. That's just like free training data for AI.
I want something like that.
I was thinking for AI, you would think they would want that.
Yeah, but you know how many lawsuits would be going on?
Well, it's public. You can film. Anybody can film in the public as long as it's in the public. You're not in the bathroom. You're not. It's public. You can film. They have a right to film too. So that should be fine. Yeah, that's kind of weird. They don't do that. Because, I mean, yeah, put a camera on the front, put a camera on the back, and that's all filming. Throw it into your AI algorithm. Or at minimum, yeah, you have all this evidence of everything, too.
Yeah. Well, one time I was being investigated, and the police took my dash cam footage, and they were reviewing it with me. You see me driving in there, and then you see me pull over, and I get out. And the police thought I was taking a leak. But I was actually checking my tire. Because on the camera, you don't see anything. You just see me turn my back to the camera. And so I'm just standing there, and I'm just looking around, making sure, the tires are good and everything, because I have flats sometimes.
Of course.
Yeah. But that's why you need more angles.
Well, that's the beauty of facts. They are what they are. But the interpreter, they bring the meaning to facts.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not what you think it is.
Yeah. And they were wondering why I checked the tires so often, of course.
Well, I mean, you're being cautious.
Yeah. You can't be too careful.
Nah, not when you're driving.
Can't be too careful. Well, should we move on?
Yes, absolutely. Back to check.
We're spending like 2 hours on each. Man, we're so far behind. Noah Cloud says, what does king mean to you? Power or responsibility?
And this is why it's taken so. These are very.
Yeah, where were these questions a couple of weeks ago? All the way up until today.
These are very loaded propositions.
Yeah, it's like just because the elder's not here now. Now we're gonna bring out the good wine.
Yeah, I don't know if king means any of that. I think king is a collective. It can become tyrannical, but I think king in its root sense is a collective parent. And you have options to go to other kingdoms, but you decided for whatever reason that this kingdom is ruled by this person that has set up enough rules that you feel like you can survive, live a life that you like because of the rules too. There's certain morals in different kingdoms. There's certain opportunities in different kingdoms. I think the king is just usually a symbol for the collective of that kingdom. And that's why kings change. I mean, because people change. Now, if you're talking about archaically, it's probably more different, but I'm saying today, like in 2026, it's probably opportunity and how you want those opportunities to be reflected on you. Because you have to be associated with that king, right? Just like today, a president's being, you don't like him or not, he's still your president. You can say, he's not my, well, you know what, you're an American citizen, he's your president. And if you don't like that, well, then you can vote for another president. But he's basically the symbol or the epitome of your kingdom. He can't really do everything. Not in America. Now, of course, if you're talking about other countries, that's a different thing. I'm just trying to say we're Americans living in America. That's usually how it is. I would say the CIA, dark government, shadow government, probably has more power than the presidency, but that's neither here nor there. Look who Trump wants to make the DNA, the Department of National Intelligence. He has no security experience, but he sure knows how to go after all of Trump's enemies. But he has no security experience. But he's going to be the director of national intelligence. He's going to be controlled of all the intelligence, the shadow government.
I hope he has a good heart.
Well, even Congress is scared. It's like, no, we're not doing anything. We're not voting for this guy. That's crazy talk.
Maybe they're so corrupt they don't want him.
But anyways, I don't care. I was just saying something. And next.
Well, Iron Man says, my father was so strict on me as a child. I'm the opposite now, and I hate all authoritarians. Those who say they are, to me, they're just regular dudes. And he said king equals power. And then he said that's why Jesus is king. And then Jeremy Henneberry says amen. But, and then he goes on. He said, Iron Man says, Noah, show me one moral king. Well, not to spend too much time on this, Iron Man, but if you hate all authoritarians, but you're submitting to a king, I guess I don't know how that works out for you, because that king demands a lot. I'll let you answer that when you get a chance, Iron Man. Frederick says, who wants some cake? And he said, Andrew Cake.
I thought you were going to say, let them eat cake.
No, Andrew Cake. I like that. Iron Man says, the king is dead. Long live the king. I care. God destroyed 2 cities because of their inhumane acts. Live in the name of Jesus. My sole purpose on this planet is to do what Jesus tells me and spread his word. A quick question on that real quick, Iron Man. How do you feel about racial stuff? Because maybe you're joking, but I think Jesus was a non-racial character. He didn't care about all that stuff. So I'd be curious to get your take on that too. I guess you answered my other question with the next comments, but now I have a new question. How does Jesus jive with racial slurs? And again, I don't care. You can be as racist as you want, whatever. Everybody, does their thing. It's if you're claiming you're preaching Jesus and the gospel, how does that jive with that? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. Do you have anything to say about any of that?
I mean, I could, but it's more philosophical.
Well, Traveler says, would all children be tried as adults in court if they have that level of autonomy and associated responsibility?
I think you can't disassociate capacity and specifically tacit knowledge and responsibility. If you do, well, the court of law already proves that's not true. This is why if you are mentally unstable, you can get off. This is why handicapped people, they can get off. Because the courts have already asserted, if you don't have the mental fortitude or the capacity to understand the ramifications, then you're going to get off. And if that's the case, I would say let's get rid of all judification. All children, starting from the age of 6, should be trialed as an adult because they're autonomous in all their actions. But we won't do that. We want the ability for kids to be trialed as a juvenile, because we know that they're making poor decisions because they have lack of experimental knowledge. And I think that's fine. That's fair. But you can't have it both ways. Even the court knows that you can't have it both ways. That's why we give grace to children. And the closer you get to 18, the less that grace happens. And I think that's a good thing. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have absolute autonomy. At the same time, try to eradicate responsibility. If you want to give them full autonomy, I think you have to give them full responsibility. And then they should be adjudicated, and they all should go to adult prison. But I don't think anybody would want that. I surely don't want that.
Iron Man says, yeah, out of states are now holding the parents accountable for their child's actions.
Well, I mean, in some sense, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, if you're a sucky parent, you should probably get your act together, I guess. I mean,
it definitely will encourage parents to be more responsible themselves, because I do believe that irresponsible parents probably produce irresponsible children. I mean, it's not a free world out there. Children are copycats.
Yeah. I was going to say a bunch of things. We'll go on.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man says it's a federal law there's federal law where if you have a marijuana card, you can never buy a firearm. Okay.
Yeah, I think we talked about that.
He says alcohol is technically illegal federally. Marijuana will never be.
Yeah, I say, legalize it all. I don't care. Tax it. But, yeah, I don't know about restricting Second Amendment rights. I think that's still kind of crazy. If you have a marijuana card, you can't get a gun. I would say then make that for alcohol, too. But you don't want to do that. I'm against that. I'm definitely want people to have their Second Amendment rights.
I mean, yeah, you can't have a gun at a bar. I mean, you'll get kicked out. You can't have a knife at a bar.
Unless it's open carry.
Yeah, but even that, you're not allowed to walk into a bar with a gun or a knife.
You can't, like even in Texas?
Well, I guess I don't know about Texas, but in most states you can't. I don't think in Texas either. Like, who wants some drunk guy with a gun or a knife? They don't even let you have a knife.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's new to me.
Jamie, can you pull that up for us?
I mean, if it's a show, that's fine. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Texas. I know they're pretty free, but people,
it's like that Wild Wild West stuff.
Yeah.
Even I guess back in those days, you got to turn in your gun. Even back in those days, like everybody, when you come into the bar, you got to turn in your revolver.
Oh yeah, as seen on John Wayne. But I don't know if that's actually.
I wouldn't doubt it. They probably thought the same thing. If everybody had their pistols, all it takes is an argument at the poker table, and someone's getting shot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're intoxicated, it's too easy.
It would probably make sense they did that.
TJ Walk with God says, "What's up from Kalispell, Montana?" What's up, TJ?
What's up from Shanghai?
Jeremy Henneberry says, "Colleague, you're incorrect, my friend. Alcohol goes back 84 hours on an ETG drug test, and meth goes back 3 days. Trust me, I know. I have to take 3 breathalyzer a day, and I'm on a drug patch."
Hey, we'll take your word. That sounds like you're an authority figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right.
TJ says ETC can go back 2 weeks, I was told. And see, everybody's got different facts, I guess, because I've always been told something different on those as well. So TJ says for alcohol. Yeah, see. Yeah, breathalyzer, though. That's weird. Jeremy says, "You're probably correct." Yeah, so some authority. Iron Man says, "They always late." And
we're trying to do better.
Dang, my bad. Born ready. Oh. Lost my spot. Here we go. No Cloud says, "Jesus is a Jewish psyop meant to wipe out cultures and give the Jews a safety blanket. Most monarchs or kings had to act with the group's best interest in mind. Being ordained by God made kings crazy." If you're talking about an American psyop, that'd be kind of impossible. The records circulating around about Jesus predates America by over 1,000 years. But say if it was maybe people are using it as a psyop, using his Jesus character, like cults do. They use Jesus, or they use whatever religious. In America, it's usually Jesus because that's the most popular religion in America, probably. But cults use that figure to get a lot of things: money, women, all kinds of stuff. So I do believe that America is using Jesus as a psyop, but I can't say that historic character is a product of America and their psyop, if that makes sense.
Maybe he's saying it's a Jewish psyop, as in like the Jewish people.
Oh no, that couldn't be a thing either. If you read the ancient Jewish literature, they really did not like Jesus. They really did not like Christians. The Talmuds actually talk about burning Christian literature. They actually talk about how Jesus, they acknowledge Jesus as a figure as well. The Talmudic literature talk about how Jesus was hung on a tree because he was a sorcerer and a blasphemer. So they acknowledge, their dislike for him, and they talk about anybody following him will suffer the same fate. Josephus, one of the earliest Jewish pieces of literature we have after Jesus, talks about Jesus, and Josephus. Well, anyway, I don't want to go too much in that. Anyway, it can't. And Josephus was a Jew. I guess my point is, it can't be a Jewish psyop either, because the guy they hated this Jesus guy, whether you hate him or not, they hated him.
I'm just trying to still figure out. Maybe they're talking about early 20th century history, like Rockefeller, and the idea of creating a Zionist state. And those have Rockefeller and boys have Jewish, or at least Ashkenazi Jewish heritage. Maybe they're talking about that kind of Jewish psyop and utilizing that as the psyop to enforce a Zionist state, because Zionism enforces the idea of a Christian primacy, be sympathetic to Israel.
Yeah, I think we can all agree there. I mean,
that's what I was just trying to figure out. Maybe that's the psyop.
Yeah, he'll probably explain more.
Yeah.
If Noah's still here, he probably put this up a while ago. But yeah, don't be shy. Iron Man says Satanists worship Saturn. There's a pentagram in its atmosphere, easily seen with a telescope. I think this was a question we asked earlier. They said something about
moon boys,
moon child or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Pentagon and the telescope. I thought it was just two concave lenses.
Saturn has a pentagram in its atmosphere, easily seen with a telescope.
Oh, you're talking about like those people who have like those high dollar telescopes, and it looks like the planet's like liquid or something. It's like kind of like it's shaking and floating, and it's like liquidly looking, the planets. Like those high dollar telescopes that average customers can buy, but they zoom into planets, and it has like a bunch of lights, and it kind of looks weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a kaleidoscope.
Well, there's like people who do that. Like they have lives on TikTok, and they just go outside with their telescopes, very expensive telescopes, and they just film planets.
I think I know what you're talking about. Where it looks like it's changing color and
it looks
it's
kind
wiggling.
of like watery.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Maybe that.
But, yeah, I thought you were describing why it looked like a pentagram.
I mean, if you get
Saturn.
in the right shape, maybe it could, I guess. Like if it's, refracting something. That's the only thing I can think of.
TJ Walk with God says, how if the Jews don't believe in Jesus?
Oh, as in a Jewish psyop?
Yeah, I think that was responding to Noah Cloud. And, yeah, Noah may be talking about the modern Jews who are using the Jesus character, but I find that would be hard to believe. I know they use Judaism, I guess.
And I know they're using Christianity because it's the only thing. America is sympathetic to that.
Yeah.
So I know they're doing that, but I don't know about I mean, I guess you could say in some way it's using Jesus, but I don't know if Jesus is the primacy of the psyop. Sure, using Christians as a means to create Zionism, that's for sure. And I don't think any Zionist, even political Zionist, would deny that. They'll tell you we're commanded as a nation to help Israel no matter what. That's what a true Zionist would say. So I don't think they even hide that. You know, Joe Biden said if I wasn't a Zionist or we weren't a Zionist, somebody would be a Zionist. So, I mean, I think they admit that at least.
Iron Man says Lucifer.
Maybe you were talking about that telescope.
Yeah, I think so. TJ says, I wish someone would call me Big Dog.
Big Dog. What's up, Big Dog?
Do you like it when we call you Big Papa? Would that work, or do you want Big Dog?
You like Big Smurf? Papa Smurf?
You like Doggy Dog, like D-O-double-G?
Big
or
Burp? Big Pun?
And Big Gulp? Noah Cloud says servant class religion. I feel like that's a mic drop moment. Iron Man says it's located on Mount Hermon where Noah's Ark is. What is? Wow.
A lot of just various propositions being asserted.
Yeah, I know. Noah, is this true? Is your Ark on Mount Hermon? I thought it was Mount
Rushmore?
Yeah. There's so many mounts out there. Tabor, Sinai.
I think Trump's making an ark.
Yeah. My kids like eating at the Golden Ark.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about using McDonald's hamburgers as a watch piece.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, like, time elapsed. Like, we're talking decades. Because, animals don't eat that stuff for, like, decades.
You're talking about, like, actually putting a wristband on a McDonald's cheeseburger.
No, I was thinking about, like, how people make those time-lapse boxes?
Oh, yeah.
Like, for centuries?
Yeah.
I know that if I put a McDonald's burger in there, when they open it, 100 years later, they'll still have that. And it's like, see, something got preserved. And
people are doing that already, so you don't even have to worry about it.
I thought you were talking about...
Huh?
They put them in those time-lapse
Yeah,
boxes?
there's videos of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it.
That's good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I'm sure that people have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, that's actually very good.
Yeah, I thought you were actually talking about like some new Balenciaga piece of wear, like you put a cheeseburger on your wrist, McDonald's specifically, and you put a wristband on it, and that actually tells you how many days have passed, or not.
I don't know if you could tell. I mean, it doesn't really look any different.
Well, that's how you know that you're still within our era.
That's fair. I haven't died yet.
Yeah, so okay. Like if you ever wake up from a coma and you're wearing that, you're like, okay, yeah,
I'm
really still within 100
that,
years.
Though, you got to get apparently you got to get the Whopper because it molds. So at least that one has like a legitimate time elapse. But yeah, the McDonald's one, I mean, I might be waiting till, I'm 70, 80.
Yeah, well, if you get freeze in a cryogenic chamber, that's when you're going to wish you had one of those McDonald's watches because
I'll be hungry.
You won't be able to eat it after that, but you'll be able to know at least what area you're in. It's like, okay, there's a little bit of decay, so it must be 300 years in the future,
Yeah.
But you'll know based on that.
That'd be amazing to take it out, and after it's been in all this liquid, it's still solid, hasn't still degraded. It's like, man, this stuff is like war chemical.
Yeah, and the pickles are like the minutes. The pickles are more, they tell more precise data.
That's good.
Because they actually do shrink with time. I don't know why.
The lettuce, too. It kind of shrivels.
Yeah, and the ketchup and the mustard actually start getting a little flaky,
hard,
too.
They get hard. But the bread stays eternal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's eternal bread. It's almost like it's from heaven or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's the bread of life.
It is special.
Yeah, that's ironic. The bread itself lives forever, but when you eat it, you actually die faster.
Well, that's how you know. That's the antithesis of anything true.
Yeah. Well. Traveler says the chat needs a timestamp in chat so you guys can make sense of the chat stream. I don't know, this is kind of part of the fun of it, trying to figure out what in the world you guys are talking about and what in the world we're talking about.
I mean, I like some of it. It's fluid. You guys can have your own conversation while we go on our little tangents, but I don't know. I'll see. Maybe I can create a little code, put a timestamp. At least the one on the screen. I definitely can't do something on here, but on the screen maybe, because the screen is actually a projected copy of a code. That's why it doesn't look exactly like the screen. There's like a YouTube emblem. I don't know. We'll see.
That actually hurt my throat.
Sound like it.
It actually felt like one of those really bad coughs.
Yeah.
Man, that actually hurt. I probably tore my trachea.
It's choices. You have choices.
Sometimes you're like a little innocent child. You don't.
Well, if it comes out the back end, no. But if it comes out the front end, yes.
Oh, man, that hurt.
Well, yeah, it depends how hard you push it.
Iron Man said, Noah, you're one of those dudes. He's a historically proven figure.
I would say that if you're talking about, they're talking about Jesus, right?
No, Noah. He said Noah. Iron Man is talking to Noah, but he's saying Noah is a historically proven figure.
I don't know. But I was going to say, if you're talking about Jesus, he's probably as historically reliable as Caesar, maybe a little bit more. But
yeah, he's actually more. The amount of evidence of that guy. But I would say if
you're going to solidify a lot of first century history, Jesus is a part of that amalgamation of that century history. You can't just separate parts of those histories because there's enough evidence for a lot of things in the first century history. You got to, regardless if you believe the guy or not, whatever his claim is, I mean, it's just part of history and how they amalgamate that history. It's just a part of the first century history. Most people, unless you're a mythicist, agree to that claim. So, I mean, that's fair. And nobody should have a problem with that, regardless if you believe in Jesus or not.
But Noah, on the other hand.
Yeah, I don't know about none of that stuff. I don't know about no Mount Rushmore or anything else.
TJ says, I don't know about it being a servant class. Religion, it's ridiculous. There's over 500 witnesses that seen Jesus return from the dead. Do you have anything to say?
On what? Are you talking about the claim, the 500 witnesses?
Yeah, I didn't know. For some reason, it was quiet, so
I thought you were just reading through. Oh, yeah. Well,
I know.
There's a lot of claims in the first century history. I don't know if any of those claims are real. I just know that there's enough secondary references to this figure to say that he should not be questioned as a historical figure of the first century as much as Caesar or, any Nero or anybody else. It's like he's just an amalgamation of that first century, and that's fine. Yeah, nobody has to believe his claims. I don't know about the 500 or whatever, Mount Rushmore.
I think he's getting the 500 from Paul. Says that 500 people
maybe
saw.
Maybe so. Maybe, but as I'm saying, that's not the amalgamation of secondary source history. And you don't need that to prove that Jesus was like a historical figure of the first century. Yeah,
no. Nobody disagrees with that he was a historical figure. The question is, did he rise again? Did he come back
Those
alive?
are those faith claims, and everybody has a right to have those faith. And you should sing your song. But I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, nobody should be questioning about the historicity of the figure as much as Nero or anybody else.
Yeah, it's funny when you hear famous agnostic and atheist professors of Yale and so on, writing books and debating that Jesus was a real figure to other people who are trying to say that he wasn't, like he was some kind of Buddha figure. Now, Buddha, we don't know if the guy existed because the accounts of his life are so far removed from his actual life. Whoa, thanks, Iron Man.
Oh, wow, $10. Wow, appreciate that. He said, good show today. I like this flow of you two a lot better than having a third one. Well, I really like elders reading. I mean, it just adds this, I don't know what to call it. It's something I enjoy. And, sometimes he gets us back on track. Sometimes we get lost in sauce. over
Yeah,
here.
we'll never get to all the. He'll just read them all.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
he has a
we're
way
not
of
going to
doing
get
it.
to the end today. This
I
isn't
know.
real. But see, if Elder was here, we would have got to the end. He would have pressed it. So.
Yeah, but it is nice to hear another voice too. We have both monotone voices, and we can put people to sleep real quick. So, if people, Elder adds another voice too, and he has a lot of wisdom. He's older. He has a lot of experience. Aren't you guys neighbors?
I think Tom lives somewhere around there too. Those three guys: Tom, Elder, and Iron Man.
Yeah. Practically brothers. I don't remember what I was saying, but who cares?
Yeah.
Iron Man says people who don't believe in Jesus think the billions of people around the world are wrong, but they've got it all figured out. LOL. OLOLOO. Whoa. Okay. Cool. And then he said, I buy a field, Noah. I think I'm special sometimes too. And then I look at Jesus and say, thank you for putting me here. I'm just a fart in a windstorm. Yeah, but you still have an answer. Well, maybe you did. I guess we're going to run into it. Maybe we'll have time.
Say you got a flu.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how you make that work, Iron Man. Like, if I get that you're a human being, you're not perfect like, God or whatever, but if you're preaching a message about that's completely anti-racial discrimination, anti-boundaries and all that ethnic stuff, specifically Christianity, if you're trying to propagate that message, but you, being a faulty human, are barred from that because you have ideas about certain races or ethnicities, then that could be a problem in your system. And the only reason I'm open with this about you is because you're pretty openly with your ideas about racial stuff and your beliefs. So I'm just curious how you make those work. And again, maybe you already answered that. And everybody could read it. You don't have to wait for me to read it, but maybe we'll get there. TJ says, go spam call, guys. The Ruthless. I had the same guy called 3 times in one day with different names. Each time, all from the same state that I live in. The numbers were. Yeah.
You're going to have to paraphrase that.
He's saying you got a scam phone call. The same guy called him 3 times in the same day.
It's starting to happen more often because AI agents are calling now, and they don't need those foreign people to call anymore. And, that costs nothing. Unfortunately, you're going to see it more. It was already a lot, and unfortunately, you're going to see it more.
Noah Cloud says, I think Noah Cloud is explaining the other thing we were talking about how the Jews use Jesus as a psyop today. He says, worship the guy we killed, use our banks, and defend Israel.
Yeah, so Zionism. Okay.
Traveler says, in response to the comments about cremation and burial, new tradition, Soylent Green. Wow, we're really far back. Iron Man said, I'll remember Harold.
Hey, Arnold?
No, because I made a brief comment. I was like, nobody's going to remember, Harold, talking about how graves... There's so many unknown graves out there. Oh,
wow. That was way back.
Yeah, that's when he made this comment, apparently.
Or maybe you should just sleuth through them.
Yeah. Pirate Mom says, Soylent Green. Noah Cloud says, Jesus was a guy. He wasn't the only prophet that performed miracles. They just fixated on him after his death. Sing your song. Iron Man says, this ought to be good. Who else did so-called magic tricks? Well, according to Josephus, there was a few magicians that did so-called magic tricks. He actually thought Jesus was a magician as well. This Josephus guy who was alive in Jesus' day. He was actually a young boy, apparently, when Jesus was on trial. But he was in with the rabbis. Josephus was. So he tells us about a lot of stuff in that time period. And yes, so anyway, there was a lot of magicians in that day doing magic tricks. Why they fixated on one of them, that's a different question. Iron Man says, he rose from the dead. That's impressive. That's true.
Yeah, anybody who could rise from the dead, it's always impressive.
And that's a magic trick that none of the magicians performed. So, and that is a unique one.
Yeah, even in America, anytime somebody's been clinically dead for a couple hours and then they come back, I mean, there's no answer to that. I mean, people don't know how to answer none of that stuff.
We're not talking about like dead for a few hours. We're talking about 3 days.
I'm saying even that. I mean, they don't have an answer. It's pretty. I mean, you can't use another word, and probably the right adjective or connective function would be miraculous, even for that. Because it's like, well, we don't know. We don't know how this person's been dead for. I mean, you don't have brain function after 15, 20 minutes. This person could be dead for 2 hours and come back and he's cognate, talking. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And not all historians are buying into the belief that Jesus rose from the dead. So there must be possibly equal evidence for the case. Maybe as much as there is for the case, maybe equal evidence against the case that Jesus rose from the dead. But, yeah, and at that point, I think that's probably where faith is involved.
Yeah, it's a belief. And everybody, like I said, sing your song. Everybody has that belief.
Iron Man says, Noah, what do you think happens when you die?
That's
a perfect question.
Yeah, that's a deep question.
Yeah, for 5 minutes left.
Yeah. We ain't going to be able to address that 5 minutes.
Noah says, old Indians rose from the dead before, but that's just storytelling.
I'm not going to even go out on a limb. I mean, there's real clinical cases, and it's not arbitrary, that they have no. I mean, we all know after about 10 minutes of no oxygen, your brain is fried. 30 minutes, it's absolutely gone. 1 hour, that's not real. And you can try to spin it however you want, but I mean, it happens. I don't know. I can't explain none of that. I don't know what that's all about. But, you know, it is what it is. So is it impossible? I'd say no, of course not. I mean, it's happened. Is it possible that this Jesus guy rose from the dead? Sure. Maybe he didn't, just like other people didn't. But to say it's absolutely impossible, because I know that there are unexplained, strange, weird phenomenons like that today. I'm sure it could happen. Now, of course, I think the claim in the Bible is that this guy was dead for like 3 days. I don't know about none of that. I never heard nobody dead for 3 days. I mean, at that point, you might be decaying without any embalming. But definitely people have been clinically dead for at least an hour, possibly 2 hours. And that itself is miraculous. Like they can't explain none of that. So I know people can come back from the dead.
Yeah, and another claim is that he himself would raise himself up from the dead.
Right.
So that's
the faith part. Like you believe you believe the guy. He said that, and you have every right to believe that.
Right. What I'm saying is it's a unique claim. It's not like, you know, somebody dying for 2 hours and then they themselves raise them back from the dead in 2 hours.
Right. If they actually prophesied, like, "Hey, I'm going to die here, and I'll be back in about 2 hours."
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's miraculous.
Yeah,
too.
and if they do it on the dot, then they did it, because he could have been dead for many more hours, but he came back on 2 hours. That's a Houdini trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually
but
magic.
Beyond
now.
that, even doctors wouldn't be able to explain that. I don't know.
Yeah, after 3 days, your body's decaying. But again, good luck trying to prove that Jesus rose from the dead. Good luck trying to prove he didn't. That's a whole scholarly conversation.
But people have a right to believe that, and I think sing your song.
And Noah, I do wish that natives kept better records of their beliefs from the ancient past, like the Egyptians, like the Mesopotamians, or like the Christians, or anybody else in the ancient world. then we could at least weigh what they used to believe up against what they believe today. Maybe it would be the same thing, but there's no central document that all natives can look to. They all have different stories, different beliefs, different religions. They even call Great Eagle different things. The
There's
creator is
probably
different.
a shared heritage, but I'm sure that got very shifted after, let's say 3 or 4 generations. But there probably is a shared heritage, though. They lived in the same area, this North American continent, so I'm sure there's something like that. I'm not familiar. Maybe no one knows. Is there historical documents that are existing that is available to solidify older beliefs, to know how far this heritage or this tradition goes? I mean, that's interesting if there is.
I would like to know. Not ancient artifacts like, this rock or this jar.
Some literature.
Literature specifically, because that's what I'm looking for. And I haven't been able to find any, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I've just been looking.
Don't know.
So
that's not. I've never looked into that. So, but maybe no one knows that. He would be the one.
His recent comment was, had a goldfish die for 2 days, then it came back to life and lived for 3 more years. Jesus fish.
Now, the funny thing is, colleagues seen this.
Yeah.
I've done this
Yeah.
myself, and it's true, and it works.
Maybe that's why Jesus and fish go hand in hand,
Yeah, it was dead. I put it in the freezer because I was going to return it back to PetSmart. And so I brought it back out, and I thawed it out because I wasn't going to be able to bring a frozen fish back to PetSmart. And so I put water inside the bag, and I was going to say it was dead, but it actually came back to life. But it was in the freezer for a couple days.
And that's after you smashed it.
Yeah, and I smashed it because I knew that it was dying. So I wanted to get it out of its misery. But it came back and it was fine. It was like swimming like nothing happened. So, hey, fishes are something. Some with these fishes.
Yeah.
Colleague saw it, so it was real.
I'm a witness.
And I brought it back to PetSmart. I got my money back.
I believe now. I will say I was doubting at first, but I believe.
I'm not making it up. I mean, that's true.
I've seen it. Well, we're out of time.
Mm-hmm.
There's way
too many. Yeah.
Yeah, we are way past.
Well, that's fine. I think it was a good chat, a good dialogue. We had a lot of nice conversations. If you want to talk about those very deep concepts, like I think one that Noah Cloud said, what happens when you die? Was that one of the questions?
Yeah, Iron Man was asking Noah, so it wasn't meant for us to answer. I'll let Noah answer that. But you guys can continue the conversation in the next live.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be something to bring that up. But, yeah, these are a lot of very deep questions. And it seemed to keep you guys' attention. We've been steady at our rate of people that were here, and there was no massive drop-off. So that's good to see that you all seem to be entertained by these range of questions and conversations. So bring them back next week. And hopefully we'll have Elder back again so we can stay on this comment road without getting lost in the sauce, because clearly we're not going to be able to make it any farther today. But
Noah just said something again. He said the Utah cave paintings and the Mayan libraries got burned by Christians. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Every religion burned every document, library. Every religion did this, and it sucks. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, everybody wants evidence. Historians can't. They don't. Historians don't play the game. Like if you don't have the evidence, you don't have the evidence. Unfortunately,
I'm sure there's something because you have archaeology and buildings and pyramids and everything else, but we don't know where the stories come from outside of oral tradition, and that's every culture. It's not just ancient native Indian culture. But
well, that's why it's hard for me to take their beliefs as seriously as more ancient documented beliefs. For I guess 2 main reasons. One, you can't get any 2 natives to agree on anything when it comes to spirituality. They have different ideas on demonology, angelology, God, the afterlife, what to do what not to do on this earth. They have so many different things. Try to get two Native Americans to agree on anything in the same tribe. When you go outside of each tribe, you're going to run into all kinds of, and I know you know, and that's because there's no central document to look to. And yeah, we can play the game. Well, this religion burned all of the libraries, and that religion burned all their libraries, and these religions burned those libraries and all this. But at the end of the day, we just don't have, and that's why, and it sucks. I really do. I wish I could read the ancient Indian literature. That would be interesting to see what they believed a long time ago.
Maybe there's something out there that we don't know. Maybe there's South American Indian literature, because Central American Indian literature where they didn't burn those things. If you find anything like that, post it in the Discord. Like, I'm interested in that, and that'd be interesting to see if there's actually older things that we could say this is probably where they got their traditions and heritages from. But
yeah, 'cause if you say the Mayans, and we find Mayan literature and Mayan calendars and stuff, you have to find Native Americans who agree to that, and then they're not really. Now they're just Mayans again. They're not really Native Americans in that sense of the word. They're just modern day Mayans. But you have to find the one that would actually agree with all that Mayan doctrine. And that's going to be the tough thing, is if they don't agree with it, then it's like, well, then that's not their literature. They're not accepting it. So you can't force people to accept literature that's not theirs. And I get that. That's not fair.
Yeah, I guess if there was, I don't know if you know any either. If there was like a native, like ancient native scholars, that's probably what they would do. They would probably try to find a way to go through all the Mayan libraries and all that literature and see how much can we correlate that with existing native tribes today in North America, and can we set a pattern to prove this is probably where a lot of this tradition and heritage comes from. But you would probably need a native scholar to do that work, and they would if they were a true scholar. That's probably what they would try to do. And I'm not familiar with that, so if you know anybody like that or any scholars in that field and they have information, put it in Discord. Like I said, I'd be interested in that. But that's all the time we have. Elder didn't make it back. I'm still looking at the camera, and he's still not there, so he's probably still not feeling well. So hopefully he's feeling better next week, and he'll be back. But tune in this Saturday. I think you guys would like it. Like I was singing, sing your song. And we want people to sing their song. And maybe I'll call them Freedom Fries. And you'll see. I think you guys will enjoy it. But as always, this fine gentleman here, that's colleague. I'm host, and Elder is probably sitting on the toilet. But until next time, this has been the Matrix Network, subsidy of Toilet Time TV. We're out of here.
We'll be back.